Known as the god of death of Konoha, this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251, Tricking the Yamato no Orochi. After soaking in the hot spring and resting comfortably for a while, the two went out to eat something. But Meditarumi couldn't be happy because Bai Yu was afraid that he was going to leave. Although she knew that Bai Yu would leave, Meditarumi still felt reluctant. Bai Yu also knew what Meditarumi was thinking. As a person who had experienced it, how could Bai Yu not notice it? But he just didn't say it out loud. So, Bai Yu had to use practice to cover up the embarrassment in his heart. After all, the word love makes people live and die together, which is really difficult. Meditarumi saw that Bai Yu was practicing as usual, and contrary to her usual behavior, she didn't sleep, but lay lazily on the tatami next to Bai Yu, with Bai Yu in her beautiful eyes. Bai Yu forced himself to calm down, and entered the Dharma Eye space. It's necessary to talk to Yamato no Orochi. It's still the black and white space, but the black and white are more harmonious than before. You're here. Yamato no Orochi is worthy of being a divine beast. Through the shackles, or the contract, it talks to Bai Yu. The vicissitudes of Yamato no Orochi's voice revealed a sense of coldness and the roughness of animals. Well, I'm here. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bai Yu. Bai Yu said, while sitting in front of Yamato no Orochi. Yamato no Orochi's 16 blood-red snake eyes stared at Bai Yu, but Bai Yu was not afraid and smiled faintly. Why do you want to hurt me like this? Yamato no Orochi said coldly. I hurt you? How can you explain this? Bai Yu was stunned, thinking, didn't you die a long time ago? How could I hurt you? In another 2 years, I can transform into a dragon, restore the vitality of my body, find a new place to stay, or build a new fairyland. That little toad, that slug, and that guy who wanted to become a dragon, all came this way. Yamato no Orochi said with resentment. When Bai Yu heard this, he was like, gosh, there is such a thing. Bai Yu was shocked. But on second thought, Bai Yu looked at Yamato no Orochi with disdain and said, what? You are a household name as a divine beast, and this is all your ambition? It seems that I made a wrong choice by choosing you. I thought that your reputation as Yamato no Orochi should be worthy of my idea of Bai Yu, and I wanted you to be my right-hand man. I didn't expect that you only had this much ambition. Yamato no Orochi was stunned when he heard it. Isn't it the wisest choice to build a fairyland and enjoy the admiration of others? Yamato no Orochi looked at Bai Yu and said, oh, let me hear your thoughts. Although I'm now under your control, it is much better to do it willingly than to do it out of necessity. Hearing this, Bai Yu couldn't help but sigh that Yamato no Orochi is worthy of being a long-famous divine beast. This awareness is much stronger than that of the useless nine-tailed fox at home. At this time, the nine-tailed fox, who was strolling in Konoha, couldn't help but sneeze. The nine-tailed fox was stunned for a moment and continued to walk proudly in the village. What Bai Yu didn't know was that the nine-tailed fox could walk freely in the village, which almost made the Jinkriki of other villages go berserk. The reason was not the Jinkriki, but the tailed beasts. Why can the tailed beasts of Konoha walk freely, but I can't? Let's get back to the point. Bai Yu sorted out his thoughts. He said, Yamato no Orochi, you are already dead. Maybe you can make your body full of vitality by transforming into a dragon, but such a resurrection is always limited, right? Otherwise, with your style of doing things back then, you would never think of building a fairyland. Yamato no Orochi felt uncomfortable when he heard this. It was indeed as Bai Yu said. Although it can be resurrected, this resurrection is not a real resurrection. The vitality of the body needs to be supplemented by the humans who have signed the contract. If you want to summon me, then use vitality as the price. Bai Yu observed Yamato no Orochi for a while, and then said, and I want to create a spiritual sword. The sword is the body, and your soul is the sword spirit. In other words, the sword will be your body in the future. On the one hand, if the sword is destroyed, you will still exist in the world as a sword spirit, immortal and indestructible. If the sword is destroyed, you can just change it. On the other hand, once the sword becomes a spiritual sword, it is not so easy to be destroyed. You can nourish the sword body with your power, and I will also nourish the sword body, and the enemy will also be absorbed by the sword body. The essence of the blood will nourish the sword body. The spiritual sword is forged, and you will accompany me to conquer the world. This world is too small. I have a stronger enemy, an enemy stronger than you. The strength is even more than 10 times stronger than yours. I think that you, Yamato no Orochi, will become my sword spirit, accompany me to conquer the world, and be immortal and indestructible in the world. This is your wisest choice. Bai Yu's sonorous words deeply moved Yamato no Orochi, who once stood proudly in the world. What shook Yamato no Orochi the most was the immortality. Yamato no Orochi's 16 eyes flashed with a gleam of light. Let me ask you, if I become your sword spirit, will I become the appearance of a sword? Yamato no Orochi asked. Although Yamato no Orochi was very tempted by immortality, he still couldn't accept the appearance of a sword. How is it possible? The sword is just your body. Once the spirit sword is forged, you become a sword spirit. You can control the sword at ordinary times. When you encounter a powerful enemy, the sword body will become your body of Yamato no Orochi, and your appearance will not change. A body that does not need a living body can still exert your powerful strength. The sword is just an extension. How about it? Do you want to follow me? Bai Yu said in a tempting tone. Okay, let's do it. Follow you. Yamato no Orochi is also a straightforward masculine man. Okay. Big Snake, you stay in this space now. In 2 days, I will complete the last 2 steps of the spirit sword. At that time, you will know the benefits of becoming a sword spirit. Bai Yu said proudly. Yes. After Yamato no Orochi finished speaking, he closed his eyes to rest. As a mythical beast from ancient times, a few days were just a blink of an eye. After talking with Yamato no Orochi, Bai Yu calmed down his excitement. Then the lotus began to absorb the dragon energy of Yamato no Orochi and condense the dragon body. The Takai Dharma ring appeared behind Bai Yu's head and slowly circulated. The dragon energy stored in the Dharma Eye space was also refined by the power of yin and yang, absorbed by Bai Yu, and accelerated the condensation of the dragon body. At this time, Yamato no Orochi opened his eyes. He could naturally feel that his dragon energy was absorbed, and the 8 snake heads of Yamato no Orochi showed a strange smile. This dragon energy is dispensable for Yamato no Orochi, and immortality is obviously more important to him than dragon energy. However, that is the dragon energy of Yamato no Orochi. The reason why Yamato no Orochi showed a strange smile is because he knows what the consequences will be if humans absorb his dragon energy. As Bai Yu's contracted beast and sword spirit, he naturally knows that Bai Yu also has dragon energy, and it is more pure than his. But what is the character of a dragon? What is the character of a snake? Thinking of this, Yamato no Orochi's weird smile became even weirder. Of course Bai Yu hasn't noticed it yet. Chapter 252. No Name must have fainted from crying. The dragon energy refined by Yamato no Orochi entered the bones, and the coldness that seeped into the bone marrow made Bai Yu shiver. Fortunately, this feeling of coldness did not last, and Bai Yu quickly adapted to the cold. Meditarumi, who was watching Bai Yu practicing, suddenly felt that the air around her had a sweet smell. This smell makes people feel numb. It smells so good. Meditarumi couldn't help but close her eyes and follow the smell to find the source. But when Meditarumi felt that she had touched something, she found that she was touching Bai Yu's face, and she also smelled at Bai Yu's mouth. It turned out that this smell was the smell exhaled by Bai Yu. This made Meditarumi blush very much. Meditarumi wanted to let herself leave Bai Yu, but there was always a voice in her heart telling herself not to leave. But after smelling it for a long time, Meditarumi became more and more unable to extricate herself, and went directly into Bai Yu's arms, greedily smelling this smell. Maybe it was because Meditarumi was in Bai Yu's arms. Bai Yu felt that there was a kind of heat in his bones, getting hotter and hotter, getting hotter and hotter. In the room where Bai Yu and Tarumi Medi were staying, the temperature rose by several degrees. Feeling Bai Yu's body getting hotter and hotter, Tarumi Medi's breathing began to quicken, and her eyes became blurred. Looking at Bai Yu's face, she touched it for some reason. It was okay for Terumi Medi to touch it, but it seemed as if something in Bai Yu's body was broken. The refining speed of the Dharma Eye space began to increase. Feeling the flow of dragon energy, Yamato no Orochi half opened his eyes, gave a humane smirk, and said, "It's started. Hiss, don't look at it without permission." He spit out the snake's letter, and closed his eyes. Just as Yamato no Orochi's voice fell, Bai Yu's own dragon energy seemed to be ignited and exploded instantly. Bai Yu suddenly opened his eyes, looked at Terumi Medi with a blurred look in his arms, and a weird smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. His eyes instantly turned blood red. What rationality, what calmness. Bai Yu now only has the purest nature in his mind. Exclamation mark. The nature of the dragon. Exclamation mark. Looking at Terumi, Bai Yu roared like a dragon in his heart. My goddess. It's over. Mustard fainted in the toilet. A night passed until the sun rose. Bai Yu regained consciousness, the blood red in his eyes faded, replaced by a brightness he had never seen before. That night, the power of yin and yang refined the dragon energy, and did not stop, but grew stronger with the interaction of yin and yang. Of course, the condensation of the dragon body did not stop either. Bai Yu was surprised to find that the dragon bones had been condensed. This made Bai Yu startled. Fortunately, it was only the bones that were done. If the dragon body was condensed, strange phenomena would appear between heaven and earth, and the black dragon Wushan would definitely chase after him. However, Bai Yu looked at Terumi, who should have fainted, and the mess around him. Bai Yu was silent. This situation was really unexpected for Bai Yu. As expected, he is the one I'm willing to follow. He is really strong. Although I didn't see it, I knew after feeling the power surge in the Dharma Eye space for a night, that his combat power is indeed top notch. Haha. In the Dharma Eye space, Yamato no Orochi's ridicule appeared in Bai Yu's mind. Bai Yu was stunned when he heard it, but he understood it in an instant. Dragon Key. As expected, Bai Yu slapped his forehead helplessly. I should have thought of it earlier. He awakened the blood of the Dragon Clan, and then absorbed the Dragon Key of Yamato no Orochi. The nature of dragons and snakes. You knew it a long time ago. Why didn't you tell me in advance? Bai Yu said helplessly to Yamato no Orochi. You are helping others. You're welcome. Hearing the 7 words said by Yamato no Orochi, Bai Yu felt a little happy in his heart. Ahem. Bai Yu was a little tangled in his heart. But after something like this happened, as a man, he must be responsible. Hey, it seems that it is necessary to go back, even if I'm beaten for 3 days and 3 nights, it doesn't matter. Bai Yu made a decision in his heart. With his left hand on Terumi's body, a ball of green chakra emerged instantly, helping Terumi to heal her body. Otherwise, when Terumi wakes up, she will definitely feel extremely painful. Bai Yu thought about it, and couldn't believe it. Not only himself, but also Terumi was very crazy last night. As expected, some LSPs said that some people look dignified and mature. After the treatment was completed, Bai Yu looked through the window and saw that the sun had just risen outside. He gently covered Terumi with a quilt and sorted out the clothes that had become rags. He took out his own ingredients and began to prepare some food for Terumi. After a while, the shouting outside made Bai Yu frown at first, then turned into helplessness, and finally blushed. Boss lady, check out. That's right, I didn't get a good rest tonight. I don't know which room it was, watching an adult movie so loudly. It's really immoral. That's right. Those couples are fine. I, an old bachelor, am really suffering. Then you are really amazing. Bai Yu arranged a soundproofing array. Cut, I just don't listen. Bai Yu's old face turned red, and he continued to prepare food. It seemed that Terumi Medi was really exhausted, and she didn't wake up until the afternoon. There was the smell of food again. Terumi Medi was about to get up when she smelled it, and when she opened her eyes, she saw herself in the quilt. The original greedy look faded away in an instant, replaced by a face full of shyness. Terumi Medi looked around, the neatly arranged scraps of cloth next to her, the remaining smell in the quilt, and the memories of last night. With a bang, Terumi Medi stopped thinking. Her mind was blank, and she stared at the ceiling blankly. Is the most precious thing of hers gone just like that? What was that sweet smell last night? Could it be the medicine Bai Yu put in? Impossible. How could Bai Yu do that? Will Bai Yu be responsible? Is it possible that her identity and Bai Yu's identity are the same? Will Bai Yu think that she is that kind of bad woman? Woo woo. A series of complicated emotions. No matter how strong Terumi Medi's heart is, she is still a woman. Terumi Medi couldn't help it, covered her face with the quilt, and cried. Bai Yu has such a sharp ear. Any movement would not escape Bai Yu's ears. But it was also the first time that Bai Yu encountered such a thing. How to say it? He was deeply in love with Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto, and everything came naturally. But it was different with Terumi. The relationship was not confirmed. Although it was ambiguous, this kind of thing was too sudden. But a man must be responsible. Bai Yu gritted his teeth and pulled his hair fiercely. He exhaled heavily and brought the food made for Terumi. He was like a child who was afraid of being punished for doing something bad. He tiptoed to Terumi. He poked the quilt cautiously. Hey, Terumi, I made something for you. Eat some. Bai Yu said cautiously. Chapter 253 Terumi Medi returns. Woo. Hearing Bai Yu say this, for some reason, Terumi felt so wronged. She cried even harder. That, I'm next to you. You eat quickly. Replenish. You consumed a lot last night. Bai Yu didn't know what to do, and then put the food next to Terumi. Then he hid aside, thinking about what to do. Terumi heard the sound of putting food and Bai Yu's footsteps. She felt even more wronged. He really walked to the side. Can't this bastard coax me? The more Terumi thought about it, the angrier she got. The more she thought about it, the more uncomfortable she felt. The quilt was lifted. Without waiting for Bai Yu to appreciate the beautiful scenery, he directly made seals with both hands quickly, dissolving escape. Dissolving monster technique. A hot solution sprayed towards Bai Yu. Bai Yu clearly sensed the heat of this solution and the strong acid contained in it. Bai Yu had no choice but to release his chakra with one hand. Resist this solution. When Bai Yu saw the accidentally splashed solution fall to the floor, it instantly corroded a small hole. Bai Yu was startled and said quickly, Ming, stop it. There are people downstairs. Bullshit. You bastard. This is the first floor. You took advantage of me, and ate me up without saying a word. I like you, but you can't do this to me. Terumi cried, extremely aggrieved. Yes, this is the first floor. Bai Yu breathed a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to say something, Terumi changed her tactics again. Boiling escape, skillful mist technique. This time it was not a strong acid solution. It was changed to steam. Terumi made seals with both hands again, and spit out boiling, hot mist with freely adjustable acidity from her mouth. For a while, the wooden furniture in the room was smoking. Bai Yu saw this and grinned slightly. It's really scary when a woman gets angry. Divine spell technique. Seal. Although this ninjutsu is useless to Bai Yu, it is at most a steam sauna, but the furniture can't stand it. In desperation, Bai Yu had to seal Terumi's chakra. Then Bai Yu calmly opened the window and performed a super low level ninjutsu wind escape. Breathed a little bit of the technique. With the help of the wind, the remaining fog in the room was blown away by the wind. Woo woo. Terumi Medi saw that she not only couldn't beat Bai Yu, but also was sealed by Bai Yu. This grievance, she could only relieve her heart by crying. That, Medi, don't cry. I didn't expect this. Bai Yu said apologetically, while admiring the beautiful scenery. But Bai Yu's words were obviously useless. Terumi Medi thought that she couldn't beat him, and she couldn't scold Bai Yu. After all, she took the initiative to sacrifice last night. Simply lying there, crying hard, Terumi Medi was full of helplessness at this time. Bai Yu saw Terumi Medi's appearance, and felt distressed. Terumi Medi was helpless like a child, motionless, just crying. Bai Yu walked to Terumi Medi and sat down, covering her with a quilt, fearing that he would do something because of impulse. But Terumi's little willfulness came up. Why do you cover me with a quilt? I won't. She kicked the quilt away. Then she continued to cry. Bai Yu picked up the quilt helplessly and covered Terumi again. Terumi was also stubborn and kicked it again. After repeating it several times, Bai Yu was also angry. When Bai Yu covered Meditarumi again, Meditarumi kicked it away again. Bai Yu closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "You little brat, I can't cure you anymore!" Exclamation mark. Bai Yu said in his heart, and then turned into a beast. Bai Yu followed Meditarumi in this effort. The harder she cried, the more Bai Yu was. In the end, Meditarumi stopped crying, but began to look dazed and cooperated with Bai Yu. Bai Yu became gentle. After a long time, Bai Yu hugged Meditarumi, and Meditarumi stared at the ceiling blankly, not knowing what she was thinking. "I will be responsible," Bai Yu said gently in Meditarumi's ear. "You, forget it. Just your words are enough. I'm the Mizukage, and you are the elder of Konoha, with different identities. I don't expect to be married by you. I just hope to have a place in your heart, and spend time with me." When Meditarumi heard Bai Yu's words, all the grievances in her heart disappeared instantly. Women are like this. They don't really want much, just a promise that they know may not be fulfilled, is enough. Seeing Meditarumi's forced smile, Bai Yu felt a pain in his heart. "I'm serious," Bai Yu said again. "How is it possible? I know you want to say that identity is not important, and I also know that you and Tsunade used to be master and apprentice. But I'm different from her. I'm the Mizukage of the Mist Village in the Land of Water. Not only is there a name of another village, but there is also a difference in identity. What can you do?" Meditarumi said helplessly. Although Meditarumi said so, she also wanted to be with Bai Yu. Especially since she gave herself to Bai Yu. How could she not want to be with Bai Yu? What about the Land of Water? What about the Land of Fire? What about the Mist Village? What about Konoha? I, Bai Yu, only exist to protect the people I want to protect. Don't worry about our business. I'll go back and sleep with Tsunade and Mikoto. Then I'll persuade Minato. The Land of Fire is just a bunch of chickens and pottery dogs. My Konoha has been financially independent for a long time. They can't do anything to me. As for your Land of Water, you don't care about anything at all. Your safety needs to be guaranteed by your Mist Village. As for the economy, I'll take care of it. As for the Mist Village, it will unite with Konoha to form the most advantageous alliance. I don't see who dares to say anything." Cut off his head. Bai Yu did not hide his tyranny at all and talked a lot. Meditarumi had long been impressed by Bai Yu's tyranny, and looked at Bai Yu with admiration. Once a woman falls in love, she is completely in love. Even if her man is an unforgivable villain, in the eyes of a woman, he is upright. "I don't care about anything, as long as you have me in your heart," Meditarumi said gently. "I, Bai Yu's woman, will not treat you badly. I will send you back to the Mist Village tomorrow. I came out this time because I have a breakthrough in my strength, and I want to go into seclusion. Second, I want to forge a powerful spiritual sword. It is enough to have the Yamato no Orochi as my sword spirit. So I will go to the spirit world for seclusion, and enter the spirit world in the Mist Village. When I come out, I will deal with our problems." Bai Yu said softly. "Yeah. Meditarumi doesn't care about that. As long as she can be with her beloved, it is more important than anything else." It was another night that could not be said. The next day, Bai Yu awkwardly bought a set of clothes for Meditarumi, and then after Meditarumi packed up and paid the room fee, the two of them set off on their journey back to the Mist Village. Of course, this time they flew back. According to Bai Yu, the sooner you get it done, the sooner you get it done. Meditarumi didn't say anything. Now Meditarumi is completely what Bai Yu says. Chapter 254, Bai Yu's Chaos. After returning to the Mist Village, Meditarumi naturally returned to normal. Bai Yu also hid beside Meditarumi, and of course he must not let others see him. If Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto already knew about the two people and agreed, it would not matter. But if these two people did not know, and the matter between him and Meditarumi spread to Konoha, then this operation would be to kill Bai Yu. After returning to the Mist Village, Meditarumi immediately convened a high-level meeting. Bai Yu naturally hid secretly nearby. At the meeting, Bai Yu saw another side of Meditarumi. That kind of decisiveness, that kind of queen's temperament. And Bai Yu also met the team under Meditarumi, King, and a very shy boy, Chijiro. There was also an old man. Because of this old man, the meeting was dragged for half an hour, because this old man walked really slowly, and this old man was the elder of the Mist Village. Seeing the appearance of this elder, Bai Yu was a little worried and nervous. Bai Yu was afraid that this elder would accidentally die here. Which 2 steps to take? Really, there is no need for advanced training for bumping into porcelain. When Bai Yu looked at Chijiro, he nodded secretly and looked at Meditarumi with approval. Although the boy's strength is not very strong now, the chakra in his body is already outstanding at this age. He has 2 swords on his back, and he should be able to be promoted to a jonin in 2 years. When Bai Yu looked at King, his eyes changed slightly. Although this guy's eyes were covered by a seal, Bai Yu could easily sense that it was the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan. Bai Yu was a little strange. He had already helped the Hyuga clan research a seal, so why could this guy get it? However, Meditarumi's voice made Bai Yu not think too much, because Meditarumi had mentioned Bai Yu. We just talked about some daily things. Now I want to talk about the future development of the Mist Ninja and some of my decisions. Everyone should be very curious about what I have done after disappearing for so long. Meditarumi said calmly. No one spoke, but there was indeed confusion in their eyes. After all, Meditarumi was gone for more than a day or 2. Konoha's death god, Bai Yu. You all know it without me telling you. Meditarumi couldn't help but smile. When everyone heard this, they were surprised. Could it be? Exclamation mark. Yes, I went to see Bai Yu. Meditarumi said very calmly. Lord Mizukage, could it be that the person who suddenly flew over that day was Bai Yu? King said in horror. Why did he come to Mist Ninja? Is he going to attack the Mist Ninja village? No matter what, I think we must be ready for war at level 1. Yes, that's right. Bai Yu's strength is obvious to all, and we must take it seriously. Quiet. Listen to the arrangements of Lord Mizukage. The elder was indeed an old and wise man. After a little thought, he knew that, since Meditarumi could say it, it must have nothing to do with the safety of the Mist Ninja village. When he thought of what Meditarumi said before about the future of the Mist Ninja village, it seemed to be related to Bai Yu. It must be said that, although the elder was trembling, he still had a great position in everyone's heart. The beating scene, which had become a hot topic because of a word from Terumi Mei, became quiet again. Fortunately, I had a conversation with Elder Bai Yu of Konoha, but I found that Bai Yu himself was far from the rumors. After such a long conversation, Elder Bai Yu and I reached a consensus. When talking about the conversation, Terumi Mei's face was a little hot, and her breathing accelerated slightly, but Terumi Mei was not an ordinary woman after all, and she adjusted her state calmly. Terumi Mei said that when she met Bai Yu, Terumi Mei pretended to be a Mist Ninja. Bai Yu used the alias Yao Ying Heo, and they dealt with a group of robbers together. These things were first told to everyone. Of course, what should be said was said, and what should not be said was naturally not said. Then Bai Yu pointed out the shortcomings of the Mist Ninja and the future development, and told everyone completely. After everyone listened to Terumi Mei's words, the scene suddenly became quieter, and they were all thinking seriously about Terumi Mei's words, and relaying Bai Yu's remarks through Terumi Mei. Lord Mizukage, we all trust your prudence. If it weren't for you, the Mist Village might have suffered more. Lord Mizukage should trust Elder Bai Yu from Konoha. I guess he should have been brought back by Lord Mizukage. When the Great Elder said this, Bai Yu was secretly shocked. It is said that old people become smarter, and the ancients are not deceiving me. The Great Elder did not say it, but through some subtle movements of Meditarumi, the old guy has deduced that Meditarumi should be in love with Bai Yu. Although Meditarumi is the Mizukage, she is wise, resourceful, and scheming, but she is still a woman after all. Of course, the Great Elder believes in Meditarumi's sense of responsibility, and will not joke about the Mist Village. Although the Great Elder did not say it, sometimes, he treated these young juniors with the kindness of an old man at this moment. Meditarumi was also slightly startled, but also relieved. As the saying goes, an old man in the family is like a treasure. If the Mist Village did not have this wise old man, it would have been messed up by the guy who controlled the 4th generation. But Meditarumi was sometimes a little surprised. Why didn't this elder have old age diseases? But then Meditarumi was a little helpless. She knew that Bai Yu was hiding, but she didn't know where. But it should be near me. Meditarumi thought sweetly in her heart. Elder Bai Yu, please show up. Meditarumi relied on her relationship with Bai Yu and said lightly, but after saying that, Meditarumi was drumming in her heart. What if he was not there? Hearing Meditarumi's words, Bai Yu also touched the back of his head in confusion. How did Meditarumi say it? Did she know that I was here? How did she find me? Why didn't other people know that I was nearby? Bai Yu was hiding outside the meeting room now. In an inconspicuous place in the window, Bai Yu dug a tiny hole. With Bai Yu's hearing, this was enough. Hearing what Meditarumi said, Bai Yu couldn't hide anymore. He used a body flash technique to appear in front of Meditarumi. With the appearance of Bai Yu, Meditarumi felt relieved, then smiled sweetly and quickly returned to normal. This guy really still loves me. Meditarumi thought foolishly in her heart. Women. But everyone is different. After all, Bai Yu's reputation is well known. As soon as Bai Yu appeared, he brought his own momentum. The scene was instantly in chaos. Protect the Mizukage. Protect the elder. I don't know who shouted. King and Chijiro appeared in front of Meditarumi in an instant, with their backs to Meditarumi and facing Bai Yu. Looking at Bai Yu's back, Chijiro not only swallowed his saliva secretly, but also knew Bai Yu's name as Meditarumi's confidant. Even King had a serious expression. What made Bai Yu laugh was that the elder was moved away alive by the ninja behind him. That's right, he was moved away, and even the cushion was moved away. Then he carefully placed it on the ground. Meditarumi came to her senses and couldn't help but smile bitterly when she saw this scene. Everyone is in chaos when Bai Yu appears. Meditarumi couldn't help but say in her heart. Chapter 255 Entering the Spirit World. Okay. Stop working. If I wanted to do something, I would have done it when you didn't know where I was. Why did I have to show up and do it later? Bai Yu said helplessly. When everyone heard Bai Yu's words, they were stunned for a moment. It was indeed as Bai Yu said. Although everyone calmed down, the vigilance on their faces did not decrease. Bai Yu couldn't help but smile bitterly when he saw this. It seems that his reputation is really too fierce. Chijiro, go and move a chair for Elder Bai Yu. Terumi Medi said calmly. Yes. Chijiro was relieved. Although Bai Yu had no hostility, the pressure he inadvertently revealed made Chijiro feel that his soul was about to fly away. No need. You should do what you should do, it's okay. Bai Yu smiled and said to Chijiro. After all, this is Terumi Medi's confidant, and he should treat him better. Yes. Chijiro said shyly, then looked at Terumi Medi, and Terumi Medi gestured to Chijiro. Chijiro hurriedly stood aside. I heaved a sigh of relief. Bai Yu's dark purple chakra flashed, and a chair completely condensed by chakra appeared in front of everyone. Bai Yu smiled and sat on the chair. This control of chakra shocked everyone. They couldn't help but sigh at Bai Yu's strength. The elder was moved away by a ninja again and moved to his original position. The elder smiled kindly at Bai Yu, and Bai Yu also responded with a kind smile. Needless to say, Bai Yu's eloquence is comparable to Zhuge Kangming's debate with scholars. This speech convinced everyone immediately. For this, Bai Yu secretly expressed his disdain in his heart. I haven't come up with the greatest invention of the 21st century, MLM. According to that person, I haven't exerted my strength yet, and you are convinced. After the meeting, Bai Yu was arranged to live in a superior environment. But how could Bai Yu rest like this? The moon was dark and the wind was high, sneaking into Terumi Medi's boudoir. Before dawn, Bai Yu returned to his residence refreshed. The next morning, Meditarumi came to Bai Yu's residence. But Meditarumi's face was a little red. When should I send an envoy to Konoha to negotiate? Meditarumi came with King and Chijiro, but she came in alone. At this time, in Bai Yu's arms, she asked softly, the alliance must be formed as soon as possible. I will split 2 shadow clones, one to find Minato, and the other to find Tsunade and Mikoto. Bai Yu felt so bitter when he thought about facing Tsunade and Mikoto. But he didn't show it. Yeah. Meditarumi responded, and then left Bai Yu's arms. To perform the shadow clone technique, you need to make a seal. How can you make a seal in Bai Yu's arms? Shadow clones are not like clone techniques. Shadow clones can convey messages. Bai Yu smiled slightly and took Meditarumi into his arms again. With a thought, two shadow clones appeared in the room. Are you kidding? What level is Bai Yu? What level? Seal! Exclamation mark. Are you kidding? Meditarumi was slightly stunned, and then she was relieved in an instant. Yes. What kind of existence is Bai Yu? For a moment, her admiration for him increased a little. The shadow clone smiled at the two of them, and then said nothing. The instant body technique came into the air. Then it flew to Konoha. Bai Yu specially allocated a lot of chakra to the shadow clones of Tsunade and Orochimaru, for fear that there would be less chakra. Because there were people outside the door, the two of them were just simply intimate. I'm going to the spirit world. Bai Yu looked at Meditarumi and said gently. Meditarumi felt a little reluctant to hear this. But she also knew the purpose of Bai Yu's trip and didn't want to hinder Bai Yu from becoming stronger because of her love. How long will it take? Meditarumi asked softly. A few years. Bai Yu said helplessly because he didn't know how long it would take, but fortunately, the bones were completed, and the bone marrow was a key place. The internal organs and skin were very easy, but it was also a time-consuming job. Okay, I'll wait for you, Meditarumi said reluctantly. Bai Yu is not a procrastinator. He immediately recited the spiritual language. A strange crack appeared in front of him. This is a very safe passage opened by Bai Yu. In order to prevent any Long Wushan from finding him, he deliberately tampered with this passage. The breath of the ninja world has not leaked into the spiritual world, and this passage is also randomly transmitted. The spiritual world does not know where Bai Yu came from. After Bai Yu left, 2 lines of tears flowed from Terumi's eyes. Unlike Tsunade and Orochimaru. After all, Terumi is in a passionate love period with Bai Yu, and they are not married. The reason why Tsunade and Orochimaru can bear the pain of separation is because they have 4 crystals, and the 2 women can also disperse their reluctance in their hearts. After a long time, Terumi calmed down and suppressed the reluctance in her heart, waiting for the day when she saw Bai Yu again, and then burst out. Terumi restored her former queen style. In the spiritual world, Bai Yu was naturally not in a hurry to retreat, because there were important things that had not been completed. That is to forge the spirit sword. Bai Yu summoned the Yamato no Orochi who signed the contract. The huge body of Yamato no Orochi appeared in the spirit world. Feeling the situation around him, Yamato no Orochi's eyes flashed with shock. The spirit world, he had only heard of it, but never entered it. It was not because of his lack of strength, because although the spirit world is a plane above the world of ninja, those who can enter here are undoubtedly gods. Immortal, shed the body, the soul becomes a god. Although in terms of strength, Yamato no Orochi is also a leader here, but every god has mastered these strange and unpredictable skills. If they really fight, Yamato no Orochi will only end up being killed by the spirit of the spirit world. Otherwise, when Kushina knew Baiki's ability, she would not be so surprised. Although Kushina didn't know it very comprehensively, she still knew some things. But Bai Yu, this pervert, is different. The Dharma Eyes is naturally restrained by things like souls, and the power of yin and yang is even more unsolvable in front of the spirit world. Big Snake, it's about to start. Bai Yu said with a smile. Are you sure you want to be here? This is the spirit world. Yamato no Orochi said cautiously when he saw some word spirits floating around. What's the big deal? Watch carefully. Bai Yu said disdainfully, and a Teikai ring appeared behind his head. A circle of yin and yang power enveloped Bai Yu and Yamato no Orochi. Those word spirits avoided them like mice seeing a cat. They were afraid of being hurt by the yin and yang power. Yamato no Orochi did not speak, but a touch of shock flashed in his 16 eyes. He also had the yin and yang power, but it was not at the same level as Bai Yu. Yamato no Orochi only stayed at the level of strength, while Bai Yu had already touched the category of rules. Even if he had the mysterious Dharma Eye talent before, the ability to bind souls was enough to make the word spirits eat apart. Chapter 256, Forging a Spiritual Sword. Bai Yu adjusted his state and reached the peak. This time, Bai Yu must temper a spiritual sword! Exclamation mark. This tempering is different from the last time. After Bai Yu adjusted his state, he mobilized the chakra in his body and condensed a dark purple thunder flame. Bai Yu used his mind to control the Bai Yu sword and made the final tempering on the thunder flame. The top level materials, but the production method is made by ordinary people. There are still many impurities in it that have not been tempered. Although the heat of the thunder flame is not as hot as the core of the sun, it is enough. The impurities in the sword body are burned by the thunder flame, and wisps of black smoke rise from the sword body. Bai Yu flicked the sword body with his hand. Buzz! A crisp sound of sword ringing suddenly sounded. Some impurities were shaken into powder. In order to fully fit the spiritual sword, infuse the sword body with dragon energy, so that the dragon energy in the sword will grow with the nourishment of Bai Yu and Yamato no Orochi, and it has its own deterrent power, which can be called the King of Swords. Moreover, with his own spirit sword blessed by pure dragon energy, Yamato no Orochi can also nourish himself through dragon energy. As for whether he can turn into a dragon again, Bai Yu doesn't know. Maybe he can go further. Fortunately, Bai Yu has completed the quenching of bones, otherwise the dragon energy is not enough. Then, Bai Yu used his own dragon blood to pour on the sword. Suddenly, the impurities were ignited like gunpowder. If you want to become a spirit sword, you must wash away all the impurities. Just like a person, if you want to be stronger, you must have a flawless body. Consolidate the foundation, cleanse the essence and marrow, and then return to the innate. As the blood decreases, Bai Yu's face is a little morbidly pale, but it doesn't matter, it will recover soon. Then Bai Yu used his powerful mental power to awaken the spirit sword. A spirit sword without a soul is not called a spirit sword, it is just an ordinary ninja tool. After the awakening, a looming sword spirit space will appear in the sword body. Just like the brain, after the spirit is awakened, this sword spirit space is equivalent to the divine court, the Niwen palace, and the Lingte. The newly born unconscious and extremely fragile sword spirit is produced here. After everything is done, Bai Yu suddenly opened his eyes. Big snake. Go in quickly. Bai Yu shouted. How to get in? Yamato no Orochi asked in confusion. Beautiful. Bai Yu pursed his lips and said in his heart. Attached to the sword body, open the sword spirit space and widen the space. Use the thunder and fire to temper your soul. I will lend you a hand. Bai Yu shouted hurriedly. It's urgent. It's just a short time. It's gone. Yamato no Orochi is not a procrastinating snake. Hearing Bai Yu's words, he quickly turned into a black ball of light and firmly attached to the sword body. Seeing this, Bai Yu was not idle and helped Yamato no Orochi find the looming sword spirit space. What Yamato no Orochi has to do is to devour the fragile sword spirit, occupy the magpie's nest, and become the new sword spirit. As for why the space is widened, the larger the space, the greater the potential for growth, the stronger it is, and the more dragon energy can be stored in the sword body, etc. In short, the larger the space, the greater the benefits. With the guidance of Bai Yu's spiritual power, Yamato no Orochi quickly found this sword spirit space. Yamato no Orochi felt another unconscious sword spirit and instantly understood Bai Yu's meaning. With cruelty in his eyes, he devoured the sword spirit without mercy, rushed into the space, and began to open up the surrounding space in an extremely violent way. The energy in the body, as if it was free, attacked all around. A day passed, and Yamato no Orochi was attacking. Bai Yu was maintaining the sword body unbroken, while maintaining the thunder flame, and continued to temper the sword body. The second day passed. Yamato no Orochi was still attacking, but he had already felt that the thunder flame was tempering his snake soul. But Yamato no Orochi did not go crazy because of the pain from the soul, because he felt the benefits of tempering, turning the pain into power to increase the output of the attack. On the third day, the dragon energy injected into the sword body began to merge with the dragon blood. On the fourth day, dragon energy and dragon blood condensed into a dragon ball. On the fifth day, the dragon ball entered the sword spirit space. The snake swallowed him. If you swallow him, you will truly become a sword spirit. Bai Yu communicated with Yamato no Orochi through mental power. Yamato no Orochi woke up from the crazy attack after hearing this, and the snakehead without any attributes swallowed the dragon ball in one gulp. The dragon ball entered the mouth of Yamato no Orochi, but did not enter the body, but turned into a stream of energy and rose into the spirit platform of Yamato no Orochi. On the 6th day, Yamato no Orochi noticed that there was a change in his mind. The Dragon Ball was slowly absorbing his soul. Yamato no Orochi panicked for a while. He hurriedly asked Bai Yu, "What's going on?" Yamato no Orochi was very afraid that Bai Yu would kill the donkey after he had done his work. No, he would kill the snake after he had done his work. Hearing this, Bai Yu hurriedly searched for the memory in his mind. In a few breaths, just when Yamato no Orochi was about to collapse, Bai Yu recalled a passage in his mind. He said quickly, "Big Snake, hold on. This is the soul baptism of the Dragon Clan. I'm a pure Dragon Clan. Although you only have a soul left, there is still some dragon energy in your soul. If you hold on, it will be good for you. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity." Yamato no Orochi heard this, and his eyes lit up, but then he was entangled whether to believe Bai Yu. However, Yamato no Orochi was ruthless, and died with his belly upside down. Anyway, he had already boarded this pirate ship. From the 6th day, Yamato no Orochi stopped attacking, and was slowly absorbed by the Dragon Ball. On the 7th day, Bai Yu's face was extremely pale. The consumption was a bit large. I didn't expect the spirit sword to be so difficult to cast. Little did he know that Bai Yu had accomplished 2 feats unknowingly. The first one was to cast the spirit sword with his own dragon energy and dragon blood, and replace the sword's spirit soul with the fierce soul. Fortunately, Yamato no Orochi was not like the ancient fierce beasts in Bai Yu's previous life. Otherwise, Bai Yu would be counterattacked if he replaced it without any defense. You must know that the sword spirit space was activated by Bai Yu with his mental power. If there is something wrong with the sword spirit space, Bai Yu will undoubtedly be severely injured. However, after completion, there will be no fatal weaknesses. The second item is to baptize the soul of Yamato no Orochi. If Bai Yu can forget to survive the thunder tribulation and be struck to death by thunder, then he deserves it. It is recorded in the inheritance of the Dragon Clan that when baptizing the soul of an alien race with dragon energy, remember to ensure that your own state reaches the peak, and you must have no distractions, because during the baptism, the degree of baptism is determined by God's will. If this alien race has a close relationship with the dragon race, it is likely to cause a large consumption of energy, but the consumption will be maximized according to one's own strength. This means that Bai Yu originally had 100% of his cultivation, and at most 90% of his cultivation would be consumed to baptize the soul of the alien race. But Bai Yu, this guy, not only has to maintain the thunder flame, but also has to keep the sword body unbroken, and he has to inject mental power to prevent the sword spirit space from rebounding. Energy will also be consumed on this side to baptize the soul of Yamato no Orochi. And Bai Yu feels that the reason why he consumes so much is entirely because of casting the spirit sword. Mustard would like to advise everyone here that you should read books, important documents or instructions carefully in the future. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257, The Domineering Yamato no Orochi. On the 7th day, Yamato no Orochi was completely absorbed by the Dragon Ball. Puff. The chakra in the body was consumed crazily. This feeling of being caught off guard and flickering the waist made Bai Yu spit out a mouthful of old blood. On the 8th day, Yamato no Orochi's soul baptism did not stop. At this time, Bai Yu's sword no longer had black smoke, but was burned red all over. On the 9th day, on the 10th day, on the 15th day, Bai Yu's face was already golden. The whole person was shaky, but he was still holding on. But the thunder flame was much smaller, but it was still enough. On the 20th day, roar. A beast roar resounded through the sword spirit space. A giant snake covered with black scales and emitting 7 colors of green, red, yellow, blue, purple, black, and white appeared in the sword spirit space. This giant snake is Yamato no Orochi. The original 8 heads disappeared, and the 8 tails also disappeared. But Yamato no Orochi has more changes. A single horn grew on its head and 4 claws grew on its belly. This time it is a real dragon. I succeeded. The inheritance of the Jia Lang. I got it. I became a Jia Lang. The dull and excited shout of Yamato no Orochi gave Bai Yu, who was about to collapse, a boost of energy. Ah. Success. Great. Hurry up and expand the sword spirit space to the limit, I can't hold on for much longer. Bai Yu said in a slightly weak voice. Yamato no Orochi was very grateful to Bai Yu. If it weren't for Bai Yu, how could he have the opportunity to advance to a real Jiaolang? If it were before, he would only be able to advance to Jiao. He was not qualified to advance to Jiaolang at all. Yamato no Orochi did not hesitate and directly struck a powerful blow to the space. The Yamato no Orochi who advanced to Jiaolang had extraordinary attack power. Bai Yu spit out another mouthful of old blood. The face that was originally golden turned extremely pale in an instant. If there was a role of Bai watching, then it would definitely be that there was no need for Makup. Oh my god. Stop attacking. Enough. The space almost collapsed. Bai Yu bit the tip of his tongue and hurriedly stopped Yamato no Orochi who was about to attack. Yamato no Orochi angrily retracted the energy. Bai Yu used his mental power to completely stabilize the sword spirit space. After the space was stable, he quickly retracted Lei Yan. Then he touched the blood that spurted out at the corner of his mouth. Well, don't waste it. Then he scratched the sword. Squeak. Bai Yu's blood met the sword body, making a sound of hot iron meeting cold water. Ah. My hand. Bai Yu was burned, but it didn't matter. After the blood was completely integrated into the sword body, the Bai Yu sword cooled down instantly. Buzz. Roar. A sword sounded, and a beast roared. The spirit sword was forged, and the sword sounded, becoming a sword spirit, immortal. Yamato no Orochi roared excitedly, looking at the dark golden longsword, the mysterious lines, and the dark purple light from time to time. It seems a bit inappropriate to call it Bai Yu sword. Just call it dragon sword. With a thought, 2 words appeared near the hilt of the sword body. Dragon sword. These 2 words appeared in the form of dragon language. After it was completed, Bai Yu fainted happily. Now, Yamato no Orochi and Bai Yu are in tune with Bai Yu because of the spirit sword. Feeling that Bai Yu is in a very bad condition, the dragon sword emits colorful light, and the dragon sword just turns into the appearance of Yamato no Orochi. Looking at Bai Yu who has passed out, although Yamato no Orochi wants to save Bai Yu, it is powerless. Although Yamato no Orochi has transformed into a dragon, the beast in its bones has not transformed. Yamato no Orochi is very domineering and searches the soul of a word spirit next to it. This is the benefit of soul baptism. Yamato no Orochi has obtained the inheritance of the dragon and mastered some magical skills. Soul search is one of them. Word spirits are originally spiritual bodies. After being searched by Yamato no Orochi, they instantly disappear. Yamato no Orochi ignores the angry word spirits next to him and speaks the spiritual language in a dull voice. Is there any word spirit that can heal? Come out. Otherwise, I will start the massacre. Yamato no Orochi said domineeringly, and then the murderous aura that had been dormant in his body for thousands of years was released without concealment. The terrifying smell of blood frightened the surrounding word spirits and scared them to flee in a hurry. Just kidding. Who can bear the trembling from the soul? Yamato no Orochi saw the strange word spirits around him and began to flee. The angry Yamato no Orochi's eyes flashed with a fierce light. The 4 claws on his abdomen gathered strength and launched an attack. Although Yamato no Orochi is a sword spirit now, he has just become a sword spirit after all. For a moment, he forgot that he could still control the spirit sword and directly launched all kinds of energy attacks. But fortunately, no matter how Yamato no Orochi attacked, the energy would subconsciously condense into the shape of a sword, with dragon energy and sword energy attached. The attack power was instantly increased by several levels. Feeling the vibration in the spirit world, some gods couldn't sit still. They all flew towards this side. When Yamato no Orochi was slaughtering recklessly, several powerful auras appeared around him. However, this was still manageable for Yamato no Orochi now. However, when he saw Bai Yu who was unconscious next to him, a trace of caution flashed through Yamato no Orochi's eyes. He couldn't let these guys take the opportunity to kill Bai Yu. They are all spirits from the spiritual world. Tell me your name. Yamato no Orochi glanced around with a dull voice. Although he spoke lightly, the domineering aura that had dominated the human world for thousands of years naturally came out. I'm the god of death. A guy with a green face and fangs, holding a short knife in his mouth, floated in the air and spoke with a terrifying breath. The spirit world god of death can use the soul of the sacrificer as a sacrifice through a contract to seal the soul of the sacrificer's enemy. If Bai Yu was awake, he would definitely say, "Fuck, it's you. What a joke, you looked at me back then. I'm the god of fate." A looming figure appeared on the other side of Yamato no Orochi. The god of destiny in the spirit world can check a certain future of the world through a contract. Of course, this requires the life of the contractor as a price. I'm the god of life. A shadow like a big tree said to Yamato no Orochi. The god of life in the spirit world can heal other people's injuries through a contract. There is no price, depending on the strength of the contractor. Just as the other figures were about to speak, Yamato no Orochi's eyes lit up, and he didn't care about other gods at all, and asked the god of life, "Are you the god of life?" "It's really sleepy and someone sent a pillow." "Exactly." The old voice of the god of life sounded. This made the gods next to him who didn't introduce themselves a little angry. "Then can you save this person?" Yamato no Orochi pointed to the unconscious Bai Yu and asked. "Yes. But why should I save him?" The god of life said calmly. "Huh." Yamato no Orochi heard the words and sank slightly. "Yes, he has never met us before, and we have no friendship. Why should we save him?" "Huh." The god of death on the side was slightly startled when he saw Bai Yu unconscious on the ground. Bai Yu, this guy. He recognized him at a glance, but he was scolded by this guy a few times. "Let me ask you, is this man dead?" Death asked calmly. "No, he just fainted. He will wake up sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. If this guy saves him, he should wake up soon." Yamato no Orochi said. Yamato no Orochi's words made Death think a lot. Chapter 258 1 year later. Uchihishin. If Bai Yu didn't die, if I stopped the god of life from saving him, he would definitely cause trouble to me with his arrogant luck back then. If I didn't stop him, he wouldn't necessarily cause trouble to me. If he did, he couldn't go too far. Very good. No reason. If you save me, I'll stay quiet today. If you don't save me, don't blame me, Yamato no Orochi, for being rude. Don't think that you are spirits of the spirit world, one level higher than the words. Now that I have turned into a dragon, if you count carefully, I'm half a level higher than you. Don't underestimate this half. As the saying goes, a higher official can crush a person to death. Don't underestimate the half suppression in cultivation. It is also extremely terrifying, especially for the strong. A little stronger is also strong. Yamato no Orochi's words made all the spirits in the spirit world speechless. They naturally knew Yamato no Orochi, and they also knew that it was not dead. They knew the horror of Yamato no Orochi, especially now. Yamato no Orochi had a sense of oppression and the power to restrain them, and it also contained a sharp breath. This was something that Yamato no Orochi had not had before. In desperation, the god of life had to treat Bai Yu. To say it was treatment was actually to nourish Bai Yu with vitality. Bai Yu's originally pale face began to turn red under the emerald green energy of the spiritual world. After a long time, the god of life dispersed his power and said lightly, "He will wake up within an hour. I hope you can keep your word." Yamato no Orochi watched it clearly from the side, and he knew Bai Yu's situation very well. He did not speak, but nodded. The gods of the spiritual world gradually dispersed. In fact, it was not that the gods of the spiritual world could not beat Yamato no Orochi. This was the spiritual world. They just didn't want to consume their energy or cause any trouble. Why fight and kill? Isn't harmony good? Yamato no Orochi quietly turned into a dragon sword and stabbed directly beside Bai Yu. As the god of life said, in less than an hour, Bai Yu slowly opened his eyes. After asking about the situation of Yamato no Orochi and learning what happened just now, Bai Yu couldn't help but sigh. This Yamato no Orochi is well fed. He is really good at dealing with things. But now that Yamato no Orochi has turned into a dragon, Bai Yu asked Yamato no Orochi if he needed to change his name, but Yamato no Orochi didn't change it. According to Yamato no Orochi, he had used the name for so many years and was used to it. The name was just a code name. Bai Yu thought about it, and it was true. He didn't say anything. But at this moment, the memory of the clone emerged in Bai Yu's mind, and he immediately grinned and smiled bitterly. But Bai Yu didn't have time to think about it, but entered the retreat to condense the dragon body. 1 year later! Exclamation mark. A dark secret room on the border of the Fire Country. Hey, Black Zetsu, are you ready? Uchiha was lying on the cold stone bed, with medical infusions inserted all over his body, and various instruments in the secret room. There were some little Uchiha lying on other beds around. Uchiha didn't care about the pain in his body at all. He tilted his head, and said coldly to Black Zetsu who was operating, "It's ready. When will the action begin?" Black Zetsu said in a hoarse voice, and roughly pulled out all the tubes on Uchiha. "Where's White Zetsu? Have you finished collecting intelligence? Have you confirmed that Bai Yu is not in the village?" As soon as Uchiha finished speaking, a white head appeared on the ground beside him. "Ha. Shin, it's confirmed. For this operation, I was almost discovered by Bai Yu's sister. If she hadn't been concentrating on playing games, I would probably have to split into several bodies again. I have to say that Bai Yu's children are really amazing. Their keen perception, although not as good as Bai Yu's, is also deadly. They almost discovered me several times." White Zetsu's chatterbox disease broke out again. Uchiha took a deep breath, and forced the blue veins popping out of his temples to calm down. Black Zetsu on the side, had a blank expression on his face. "Give me the list of Konoha Uchiha clan members who have Sharingan," Uchiha said calmly, trying to suppress the urge to kill White Zetsu with a single blow. "Here it is. Am I being considerate? Haha, let me tell you." White Zetsu spoke like a machine gun again. Uchiha snatched it away, and said with a frown, "Bai Yu, that rubbish, should have been killed with a single blow by a sword, a chatterbox like you. Ha. That's impossible. Even if I, White Zetsu, fall, there are still thousands of White Zetsu standing up. Why don't you kill me and try?" Hearing this, Uchiha mouth twitched, and he didn't say anything. Instead, he looked at the list White Zetsu gave him. It must be said that, although White Zetsu is a chatterbox, he is still very reliable. This is probably why Uchiha Madara didn't kill White Zetsu, but kept using him. Uchiha looked through the list and said disdainfully, "I didn't expect that there are so many people in the Uchiha clan of Konoha who can open the Sharingan. Uchiha Fugaku's eternal Mangekyou Sharingan? Huh? What? How is this possible? Impossible." Uchiha saw this record, and exclaimed in disbelief. "Look down. There are surprises." Bai Zetsu said meanly. "Impossible. Your information is absolutely wrong." Uchiha said firmly. "I guessed you wouldn't believe it. Look, this is a confidential document I secretly printed from the Hokage's office when Minato Namikaze wasn't paying attention." Bai Zetsu said helplessly, then took out a scroll from his stomach and handed it to Uchiha. Uchiha frowned at the disgusting scroll, but the jealousy in his heart made him open the scroll. After reading it, Uchiha face gradually twisted. "How is it possible? I, Uchiha, am the orthodox of the Uchiha clan. Why?" Uchiha face was distorted, full of jealousy and resentment. However, Uchiha still picked up the list and looked down. Uchiha Fugaku, Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, at Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu. Uchiha Itachi, and a week ago, Advanced Mangekyou Sharingan, at Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu. Uchiha Shizu, Mangekyou Sharingan, Katamatsukami Light. Uchiha Obito, Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, Kamu. Uchiha Izumi, 3 Magatama Sharingan. Uchiha Genji, suspected Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. Because the information is in Bai Yu's hands, it cannot be confirmed, and the pupil technique is unknown. There are actually 3 pairs of eternal level Mangekyou Sharingan. Damn it. It's really damned. I'm going to dig out all your Sharingan. Put them on display at my bedside. Uchiha-shin's distorted face became more and more hideous. The bald head without hair, with blue veins visible due to the surging blood. I will become the strongest Uchiha clan. In the name of Uchiha-shin, I will prove that I'm the most orthodox Uchiha clan. Exclamation mark. Uchiha-shin shouted madly in his heart. Black Zetsu looked at the hidden disdain in Uchiha-shin's eyes, but a cultivated artificial human. If you can't use the Sharingan, and have your own obsession, and be controlled by me, would I let you be so arrogant? But Black Zetsu hid it very well. No one knew what Black Zetsu was thinking. Chapter 259 The Guilty Bai Brothers and Sisters. Konoha Village. Hokage's office. With the development of Konoha Village, there are not too many documents that need to be reviewed on a daily basis. Moreover, the peaceful days not only did not reduce the workload, but on the contrary, there are too many trivial tasks. Even the Dragon Group has been assigned a lot of trivial tasks. Namikaze Minato looked at the bustling streets outside the window and drank a sip of tea. A year ago, a series of jokes that Bai Yu's clone made when he returned to the village emerged in his mind. A year ago, Bai Yu's clone directly entered Namikaze Minato's office with the instant body technique. Bai Yu's sudden appearance scared Namikaze Minato, and he rushed up with the flying thunder god technique. "Stop, Minato, it's me, Bai Yu." Bai Yu's clone shouted hurriedly. "You know, this clone doesn't have much chakra. More of it was divided into the clone who was going to die." "Ah, you scared me. Are you done with your retreat?" "Hey, no, you are a clone." Namikaze Minato came to Bai Yu and said with a smile. The clone Bai Yu quickly told Minato Namikaze about the Kurigakure in the Land of Water. "I never thought that you would accidentally go to Kurigakure and reach a consensus with Meditarumi," Minato Namikaze said thoughtfully, and then a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. "No, there are many loopholes in the story you told. First of all, after you met Meditarumi, you talked about the alliance, but why did she personally go with you to find the remnant soul of the Yamato no Orochi? Also, it's been so long, just to reach a consensus? For so long, is it really just a simple discussion of cooperation?" It has to be said that Minato Namikaze, who became the Hokage, has become more active in thinking and smarter. Although Minato Namikaze doesn't know what happened between Bai Yu and Meditarumi, it is definitely not simple. Bai Yu heard the words, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. How did this Minato Namikaze become so smart now? Where did the honest Minato Namikaze go? An idea suddenly came to Minato Namikaze's mind. Meditarumi is about the same age as Makoto Uchiha now. According to rumors, she is a rare beauty, and she is still single. Bai Yu, a beautiful guy, won't! Exclamation mark. As for Bai Yu's betrayal, Minato Namikaze would never believe it. Even if there is news that Bai Yu betrayed the village one day, Minato Namikaze still believes that Bai Yu has his own reasons and will not really betray the village. At this time, boom. A loud noise sounded in Konoha village. Minato Namikaze was startled. He was about to go and check it out. However, Bai Yu pulled Minato Namikaze with a bitter look on his face, shook his head, and signaled Minato Namikaze not to go. Bai Yu glanced at the rising dust and knew that another clone was beaten. Minato Namikaze looked at Bai Yu in confusion. "You will know it soon. Tell Nerashikaku and the others to keep their mouths shut. I have no chakra. Retreat first." Bai Yu had no choice but to dissolve the shadow clone in advance. It was really embarrassing for Bai Yu. Seeing Bai Yu disappear, Namikaze Minato's forehead was full of question marks, and he became curious about the loud noise. "Bai Yu, you bastard. You have been laying the groundwork for so long, just to tell me that you have harmed the Mizukage because of your practice, and you have to take responsibility." Originally, Tsunade was still heartbroken for Bai Yu's experience, and even shed tears. After all, his wrinkled face and trembling appearance were really sad, and Bai Yu even used the transformation technique to show Bai Yu's worst appearance at that time. Uchiha Makoto, who was standing aside, also wiped tears secretly. However, when Bai Yu finished talking about himself and Meditarumi, Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto stopped crying instantly. Anger. Great anger. Bai Yu would not feel it wrong. Don't forget that Bai Yu also has telepathy. This is not the point. The point is that Tsunade's temper, which has been pent up for many years, broke out instantly. Exclamation mark. This punch exceeded the speed of sound. This punch seemed to tear the space apart. A fierce attack on Bai Yu's chest. The dust around, accompanied by a loud noise and the pressure shock in the air, rose instantly. Fortunately, it was Bai Yu who was beaten, and even more fortunately, Bai Yu allocated more chakra to this clone in advance. "You bastard. How dare you say you don't have any thoughts about others? Makoto and I are working hard to take care of the children at home, and you actually ran out to sow seeds. Bastard. Tsunade's anger was not about what happened between Bai Yu and Meditarumi. Tsunade had been mentally prepared a long time ago. It was not that Tsunade was willing to share Bai Yu with others, but that Bai Yu was really outstanding. It's just that Bai Yu, this guy, was beaten by others without making a sound. This made Tsunade very angry. Even if you had come back to discuss it with Makoto and me before, I would have accepted it. Tsunade said angrily in her heart. Tsunade doesn't care about dragon nature or snake nature. Why doesn't Baking-Cheng do this? Why are you, Bai Yu, so special? Uchiha Makoto calmly sent Baiheo and Bai back to the second floor and quietly set up a simple soundproof ceiling array around the two children. Although she doesn't know talismans and magic spells, she still knows some simple ceiling techniques. Then Uchiha Makoto stood beside Tsunade expressionlessly. Sister, I believe my husband is not such a tactless person. I'll ask King Cheng about the dragon nature and snake nature, as well as blood awakening and so on. You continue to beat him. If it's really like what my husband said, beating him up to vent your anger, that's fine. If not, I'll live with you in the Senju ancestral house. Uchiha Makoto whispered to Tsunade. Tsunade nodded and launched her own offensive. The clone Bai Yu felt so miserable. He had to protect his face desperately, and he was crazy in his heart that his chakra was almost exhausted. Oh my god, I beg you! Exclamation mark. There was a fierce noise downstairs, and Baking-Cheng upstairs was concentrating on playing Ninja Alliance. Uchiha Makoto walked into Baking-Cheng's room, saw Baking-Cheng's appearance, smiled bitterly, and took off the exclusive gaming headset developed by Lanteng Technology for Baking-Cheng. He asked about the dragon and snake nature explosion. Baking-Cheng was anxious to play the game, and said without thinking, of course it's true. This is nature. If I hadn't secretly fed my stupid brother dragon blood, he wouldn't have awakened until now. Uchiha Makoto felt relieved. Sure enough, Bai Yu still had a sense of propriety, but Uchiha Makoto's eyes were full of coldness. Uchiha Makoto instantly caught a few keywords from Baking-Cheng's mouth. Back then, secretly, feeding dragon blood! Exclamation mark. Could it be? Uchiha Makoto remembered the crazy nights when Bai Yu had gone crazy. Good for you, Baking-Cheng. I thought your brother was drunk before, but I didn't expect it was because of you. Uchiha Makoto shouted excitedly. Baking-Cheng secretly thought it was not good. Swoosh. Jumped out of the window. She vaguely saw Bai Yu's figure and quickly shouted, brother. Sister-in-law Makoto wants to beat me. But when she saw Bai Yu being beaten, Baking-Cheng's heart sank. At this time, Uchiha Makoto also jumped down. Uchiha Makoto told Tsunade what Baking-Cheng said. For a moment, Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto glared at Bai Yu's brother and sister. Bai Yu's brother and sister looked at them with guilt, and Baking-Cheng occasionally glanced at Bai Yu with a subtle guilt. Chapter 260, Meditarumi comes to Konoha, negotiation. Tsunade looked at Baking-Cheng and shouted angrily, okay. King Cheng, I treated you like my own sister for so many years. You actually secretly fed Bai Yu dragon blood. During those nights I mentioned, Bai Yu was like a different person. I thought she was. Cough cough. Hiss, this is a lot of information, but it doesn't matter. Fortunately it was Baking-Cheng who did it. It's not a bad thing for me. Didn't it help you guys? Baking-Cheng said weakly. After all, thinking back to Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto's muddy appearance the next day, with traces of dried tears in the corners of their eyes, Baking-Cheng felt guilty. What do you mean by feeding dragon blood back then? What? Bai Yu asked in confusion. Uchiha Makoto told Bai Yu about Baking-Cheng with an expressionless face. When Bai Yu heard it, he was immediately furious. Damn, I've been drugged for nearly 10 years. I just found out. For a moment, Bai Yu, Tsunade, and Uchiha Makoto all glared at Baking-Cheng. Baking-Cheng thought to herself that it was not good. But before Baking-Cheng could make any move, Bai Yu waved his hand and sealed Baking-Cheng's cultivation for 2 hours. Tsunade, Makoto, this little girl's cultivation has been sealed by me. Let's beat her together. Although Bai Yu was a little unhappy, he was still very grateful. Sister, for your brother's happy life, I'm sorry, I have to beat you up. This is Bai Yu's current strategy, to divert the trouble to others. However, Tsunade is not so easy to fool. Since what you said is true, when you finish your retreat, bring Sister Miming back to me. But now, humph, Sister Makoto, come to life. Tsunade said as she took off her coat. When she was beating Bai Yu just now, she felt that the coat was a bit of a hindrance. Okay, sister. Uchiha Makoto said, with a flash of cruelty in her eyes. Both hands began to make seals, and the speed of the seals was probably the fastest in Uchiha Makoto's life. For a while, the Bai Yu siblings were beaten up unilaterally by Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto. Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto knew that the Bai Yu siblings were thick-skinned and tough. They fought recklessly, but they didn't kill them. At this time, Baking Cheng was full of resentment towards Bai Yu beside him. Stupid brother. Bai Yu also had no words to say. The attempt to divert the blame failed. 2 hours later, Baking Cheng recovered his cultivation, and the energy circulated in his body. The bruised and swollen Baking Cheng instantly returned to normal, and calmly said, Sister-in-law Tsunade, Sister-in-law Makoto. Come, I'll help you. So it became a unilateral beating of Bai Yu by 3 people. The Enbu and Dragon Group ninjas who came to investigate quietly around knew what happened, and took out popcorn one after another, enjoying the family drama. Report. Lord Hokage, the envoy from the Mist Village is here. A ninja entered the Hokage's office, and pulled Minato Namikaze back from his memories. Okay, arrange for him to stay in the first class reception area of Konoha. I'll be there later. Minato Namikaze said lightly. When the ninja who came in to report the news heard the first class reception area, he was shocked. Is this a distinguished guest? But he didn't say much, but went to execute Minato Namikaze's order. Finally here. I wonder if it's Meditarumi herself who's coming this time. Minato Namikaze thought to himself, and couldn't help but find it very interesting. He smiled, then tidied up his appearance, and walked out of the office. Minato Namikaze didn't ask who was sent by the Mist Village. It didn't matter who was sent, they were all family. Minato Namikaze couldn't help but smile even more. When Minato Namikaze brought a few confidants to the reception area, Nerishikaku walked out of the reception area. He leaned close to Minato Namikaze's ear and said in a mean tone, Minato, it's Meditarumi. Hehe. The beating that Bai Yu received a year ago was not in vain. It was worth it. Really worth it. Ahem. Let's talk in private. Let's talk about the alliance between the 2 villages first. After all, he is the Mizukage. Minato Namikaze coughed twice and said, the Hokage is here. At the signal of Minato Namikaze, the ninja next to him shouted. Nerishikaku instantly regained his calm and wise demeanor. This is the consciousness of a veteran ninja, doing what he should do. When Minato Namikaze walked into the living room and saw Meditarumi, a definition emerged in his mind. Mature, dignified, gentle, friendly, and always with a smile on her face. This is not because Minato Namikaze is attracted to Meditarumi, but he wants to see what kind of woman is that can make Bai Yu take responsibility, even if he would rather be beaten. I'm so sorry. I came a little late. I hope the Mizukage can understand. Minato Namikaze said politely. Meditarumi looked at Minato Namikaze. Wow, what a sunny and handsome man. Of course, Meditarumi already had Bai Yu, and she only admired Minato Namikaze. No problem. Konoha village is now prosperous, and there must be a lot of things to do. The Hokage has given me enough attention to negotiate with me. Besides, it's not too late. I just arrived here not long ago. The temperament of Queen Meditarumi is undoubtedly revealed. Although the conversation is more polite, the temperament on her body, well, has an inside taste. The negotiation between Minato Namikaze and Meditarumi was very relaxed and pleasant. Nonsense. With Bai Yu here, how can it not be pleasant? Because of Bai Yu, Minato Namikaze gave Meditarumi an extremely superior alliance condition. Because of Bai Yu, Meditarumi also agreed to Minato Namikaze's conditions very generously, and also gave back a huge cake. That is, in terms of economy, Meditarumi is willing to give Konoha an extra 10% tax. Don't underestimate this 10%. This achievement is enough for some small countries and villages to earn a year's income before tax deduction. The cooperation was very pleasant, and Minato Namikaze also sent a welcoming banquet to Meditarumi. Of course, Minato Namikaze did not drink with Meditarumi, but drank juice. After all, Meditarumi is a woman. How could Minato Namikaze drink with her? Minato Namikaze also chatted with Meditarumi. However, most of the content of the chat was about Bai Yu. Minato Namikaze couldn't help it, and couldn't help asking, Mizukichi, you and Elder Bai Yu, are you two really together? Minato Namikaze was a little embarrassed, but still asked curiously. After all, the real news is what the parties say. Although there is already a party involved, Minato Namikaze, ahem, the gossip heart is ignited, what's the matter? Puff Meditarumi heard Minato Namikaze ask so directly, and asked in front of King Chijiro and several other high-level officials of the Mist Village. Meditarumi sprayed out the juice she had just drunk. For a while, the ninjas of the Mist Village showed shocked expressions. However, the Konoha side is different. Hatake Tsukumo, Nerashikaku, Akimichi Choza, Yamanaka Inoichi, Uchiha Fugaku, Hyuga Asakawa, etc. All of them quietly gave Minato Namikaze a thumbs up. Usually because of Bai Yu. Sometimes they don't seem like superiors and subordinates, but more like brothers. Minato Namikaze also blinked and smiled. Chapter 261 Rare Gathering. Sorry. This question. Is it something he said? Meditarumi blushed and asked embarrassedly. Well. He said he wanted to marry you. And, that's not important. The important thing is that he said he wanted to marry you, and I was curious. Just asking. You too? HMM. Namikaze Minato asked with a smile. Everyone's ears stood up straight, afraid that they couldn't receive the signal. I didn't expect this bad guy to be so quick. Meditarumi suffered from love sickness for a year. When she heard this, all the pain in her heart disappeared, and she felt sweet inside. She couldn't help but whisper it out. Because Minato Namikaze and Meditarumi were some distance apart, he didn't hear clearly, and couldn't help asking what did you say? However, Nerashikaku, who was closer to Meditarumi, heard it clearly. Hearing this, he immediately showed a sour and sweet expression. Hatake Tsukumo on the side heard it, but he didn't hear it completely. Although Nerashikaku was next to him, there was still a distance between the seats. I couldn't help but whispered, Shikaku, why are you laughing so lewdly? Tell me what you heard. Shh, don't expose my position. Let me listen more secretly, and tell you in private. Nerashikaku whispered back. Hatake Tsukumo nodded, but his heart was always like a kitten scratching. I said it's, just as Elder Bai Yu said. Terumi Mei said with a feverish face. After all, there were subordinates around her, and it was a bit embarrassing to talk about private matters like this. Namikaze Minato satisfied his inner curiosity, and knew what Terumi Mei was thinking, so he said, haha. Mizukichi, don't be so restrained. It's embarrassing to say that we are still very careful in formal occasions on weekdays. According to Bai Yu, we are all family, don't be polite. I hope you can forgive me. No. This is very good, very kind. Terumi Mei said politely. Then she whispered, this bad guy is still so bold and cheerful. Meditarumi couldn't help but recall that Bai Yu always had a faint smile on his face, and he was very generous and cheerful to everyone. This sentence was secretly heard by Nerashikaku who was standing by. Nerashikaku couldn't help but reveal a hidden yard smile again. This bad guy. Hehe. When they returned to their residence, Meditarumi's confidant, King, and other Mist ninjas all talked to Meditarumi about Bai Yu with serious faces. The general meaning was that the Mist Ninja village was in ruins, and it was not the time to talk about children's love affairs. Let Meditarumi focus on the overall situation, and don't consider her love with Bai Yu for the future and development of the Mist Ninja village. This made Meditarumi feel sour, but as a water shadow, she had to wrong herself for the Mist Ninja village. Meditarumi asked them to go back and rest first, and tactfully said that she would not forget her identity because of love. This made everyone in the Mist Ninja feel relieved, and go back to their rooms to rest. After everyone left, Meditarumi lay on the bed alone, tears streaming down her face. I'm just a woman. But, Mist Village, The scene came to Namikaze Minato and the others. Meditarumi and the others used the excuse of being tired from the journey to go back and rest. But Namikaze Minato and the others finally had their own time and were able to get together and drink. How could they disperse so easily? Even if Namikaze Minato agreed and wanted to go home to accompany Kushina, Hatake Tsukumo would not agree. This guy is still an old bachelor. Everyone put the juice aside and ordered wine. Narashikaku drank, while telling what he had just overheard. This made the animals laugh wickedly. I didn't expect it. You actually took down the Mizukage. What a courage. Uchiha Fugaku said with a smile on his face. I heard that Bai Yu was beaten for a day a year ago. Who was there? Tell me. Hinata Hayashi said surprisingly. In everyone's eyes, Hyuga Hayashi has always been a serious family patriarch. No one expected that Hyuga Hayashi had such a side. Everyone looked at Hyuga Hayashi in surprise. Hyuga Hayashi touched his nose awkwardly. I'm also a human being, okay? I'm also curious. Hyuga Hayashi said awkwardly. Hyuga Hayashi on the side drank a sip of wine calmly because he knew that his brother was not only not as serious as he seemed, but also a foodie. Hyuga Hayashi instantly recalled that when Konoha Chuanxiang just opened, Hyuga Hayashi secretly went to buy barbecue and packed it for half a year. Let me tell you about it in detail. It was just a coincidence that day. I had nothing to do and took a walk. I bought a box of Hanako and then passed by Bai Mansion and I heard. Hatesaku narrated vividly. Bai Yu was beaten and in the end, Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, Baking Cheng, and the three women poisoned the music. Everyone listened carefully and asked for more wine without realizing it. After Hatesakumo finished speaking, everyone toasted with a smile. Inozuka curled her lips and said silently, these stinky men are even better at gossiping than women. Little did she know that she, Inozuka, was listening very seriously. Namikaze Minato suddenly sighed. Everyone was puzzled when they heard it. It was obviously a good thing. Why did Namikaze Minato sigh? Narashikaku narrowed his eyes and thought secretly. After a while, Narashikaku understood. Namikaze Minato said, Meditarumi is the Mizukage. Bai Yu is the elder of Konoha. Konoha is strong, and the mist village is in ruins. Namikaze Minato's words were very vague. But after so many years, everyone is no longer the young and frivolous teenagers of the past. They are all the heads of the clan and hold high positions in Konoha. No need to say it clearly, they will naturally understand what is going on. Haha. Minato, you worry too much. That is a disaster. That is rare in 1,000 years. Is this still a troublesome thing for Bai Yu? That guy, I guess he has already thought of what to do, and the method is extremely rough. Narashikaku said with great ease. Everyone was stunned when they heard the words, and then recalled Bai Yu's usual style. Simple and direct, violent, and effective. No matter what, I guess you will definitely make the Mist Village a mess, and the Mist Village will have to allow Terumi Medi to marry Bai Yu. Akimichi Choza said with a smile, while eating roasted lamb legs. Akimichi Choza has always been a guy who is wise but foolish. After hearing what Akimichi Choza said, everyone smiled sympathetically. Haha. I hope those guys in the Mist Village are more sensible. Otherwise, Terumi Medi alone can't save those stupid guys. Namikaze Minato also said with a smile. Everyone talked and laughed and drank until late and then went home with their wives and children warm on the bed. Little did they know that a disaster was about to come. Chapter 262 How can a tiger general have a dog son? Exclamation mark. As the sun sets, Terumi and the others return home after staying in Konoha for a few days. Konoha has returned to its normal order. Now, after years of refinement, Bai Yu and Uchiha Raizumi have gradually blossomed into their original beauty. Although they are not old, they have already grown up like girls next door. Uchiha Itachi's originally sickly pale face has become somewhat rosy due to the effect of the scroll. Although the yin force is still eroding, the magical technique has made up for the loss and nourished it slowly. Although it cannot cure the disease, it nourishes it day and night. One day, the body will become stronger under this kind of tempering. It's just that Uchiha Itachi is much more mature. As for Baiki and Bai Yu, it goes without saying that Bai Yu naturally passed on the modified Bai family daffa to the two of them because they also have Bai Yu's blood. Uchiha Raizumi has always been trained by Bai Yu, Tsunade, and Uchiha Makoto as the future daughter-in-law of the Bai family. Naturally, there will be no favoritism, and the same skills as Uchiha Itachi were given to her. Not to mention Baiki, who has a wolf back and a bee waist. Although he is strong and slender, he is not the kind of muscle bulge. He is more handsome and extraordinary. Bai Yu and Uchiha Makoto have great genes. He and Uchiha Itachi have already begun to look like a beautiful man. Not like Bai Yu's enchantment, nor like Uchiha Makoto's sweetness, but more of a combination of the two, creating a normal handsome face of man. Bai Yu is different. His face is more like Bai Yu. But this is just right. Bai Yu, Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Izumi, just got out of school and walked on the street. As the saying goes, people with high appearance will definitely have a high rate of turning heads. The four people appeared on the street, and they immediately became a beautiful landscape. The four people are also well known in the school. They are the school beauties and school hunks of this year's ninja school, and they are both beautiful and powerful. But the thinking of these four people is far beyond the reach of their peers, which also caused Minato Namikaze a headache. Sometimes, it is also a bad thing that the younger generation is too good. The four people have no one else to befriend, and even Minato Namikaze is not easy to assign to guide the Jonin in the future, because the strength of the four of them, I don't know how you taught them. At a young age, although they have not graduated, their strength is close to the level of Chunin, or send them directly to the dragon group. But that would also break the rules set by Bai Yu. And Bugard? Isn't it a bit of a waste of talent? Minato Namikaze secretly pulled his yellow hair. Let's go for dessert. Because of the minds of the four people, Uchiha Fugaku, Uchiha Missy, Tsunade, and Uchiha Makoto gave them a lot of freedom in freedom. Especially in Konoha village, what dangers could there be? The most lively of the four is Bai Yu, followed by Uchiha Izumi. Uchiha Itachi only has eyes for the three of them, his parents, his younger brother, and Bai Yu's family. For other people, his extremely cold temperament can freeze people's hearts. Baiki is more like Bai Yu. Sometimes he is extremely heroic, and sometimes he is as calm as a mountain. For Bai Yu, Baiki's eyes are always full of the soft light of a kind brother, and for Uchiha Izumi, he is completely doting. This is similar to the feeling when Uchiha Itachi looked at Uchiha Sasuke and Bai Yu. When the four people were talking and laughing, Bai Yu suddenly proposed. Speaking of desserts, this is definitely a nightmare for Baiki. He doesn't like desserts very much, but Uchiha Itachi, Bai Yu and Uchiha Izumi are willing to eat them. As soon as Bai Yu said this, he was instantly agreed by Uchiha Izumi and smiled at Uchiha Itachi. Although Baiki didn't like to eat, he didn't want to spoil the fun, so he smiled and nodded. Bai Yu is so smart. She said with a turn of her eyes, let's buy desserts first, and then pack them up. We haven't eaten skewers for a long time. How about we take the desserts directly to Chuanziyang? Although Uchiha Itachi doesn't like barbecue very much, he can't resist the delicacy of barbecue. The feeling of wanting to make sparks from each iron skewer is so intoxicating. Not only Uchiha Itachi, I'm afraid everyone in Konoha village likes the feeling of eating skewers. Some people even burn charcoal in their own homes. Ahem. Burn charcoal and eat it yourself. It's just that the biggest secret of eating skewers is all in the ingredients. No matter how everyone imitates it, it can't compare to the taste of Chuanziyang. But this doesn't mean that the barbecue business is depressed. There are still many people who like the feeling of eating meat and drinking wine. The four people continued to talk and laugh with great interest as they walked towards the dessert shop they often went to. However, the four people didn't notice that at the corner of the street, four pairs of eyes were staring at the four people without any fluctuations. However, the four of them, in the clanland of the Uchiha clan, also unknowingly had many more uninvited guests. It's just that it's hidden well enough that no one can find it. Sitting in the Hokage's office, Minato Namikaze's right eyelid twitched from time to time, and he always felt that something bad was going to happen. But he had no clue. Zinao quietly showed her head, and Baiki and the other four walked out of Konoha Chuanziyang with a satisfied look on their faces. The four people fully inherited Bai Yu's fine tradition and set up a table directly in the back kitchen. Others lined up, and they went directly to the back kitchen. The comfort in their hearts, not to mention, and they didn't have to spend money, they just kept accounts, and then they would deduct it from Bai Yu's money. The new address of the Bai mansion is not too far from the Uchiha clan. As they walked, Bai Yu frowned slightly. Out of tacit understanding, Baiki, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Izumi did not speak, but looked around vigilantly. The four of them quietly wiped their right hands on the bracelets on their left hands. The closer they were to the Uchiha clan's land, the more Bai Yu could clearly feel a breath of coldness and killing. And around the four people, they also felt a faint murderous aura. Swoosh, swoosh. Just as everyone was on guard, the sound of hidden weapons approaching came from the sky, and there were hidden weapons in front, behind, left and right. Just at this moment, along with the hidden weapons being shot, two identical guys appeared in front and behind the four people on this deserted street. They all had a pair of Sharingan in their eyes, very white skin, very white hair, and white clothes on their bodies, but with some blue decorations on them. No, there were the same two people on the roofs on the left and right. Bai Yu, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Raizumi frowned slightly, but did not panic. Clang. Ping pong. Dang dang dang. The four people decisively took out their sealed weapons. Blocked all the hidden weapons thrown at them. Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi. Bai Yu held a spear. Uchiha Itachi blocked a single-edged longsword with one hand. Protected Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi. Bai Yu held a double-edged longsword, and Uchiha Raizumi, like Uchiha Itachi, held a single-edged longsword, but it was slightly shorter than Uchiha Itachi's. Who are you? Bai Yu held his spear upright on the ground and shouted coldly. Although there was no murderous intent, the boundless domineering aura proved that a tiger general cannot have a dog son! Exclamation mark. Chapter 263, Perfect Cooperation. Rooftops on the left and right, front and back entrances. Four identical young men, with cold eyes and evil smiles on their lips, did not speak. But the Sharingan in their eyes made Bai Yu, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Raizumi feel a little depressed. That is the main Jiki Sharingan. Itachi, is something wrong? Why haven't I seen these four guys before? Uchiha Raizumi frowned and whispered to Uchiha Itachi beside him. I haven't seen them either. But these four guys should not be from our Konoha Uchiha clan. Uchiha Itachi said lightly. Not from the Konoha Uchiha clan. Could it be? No way. Uchiha Raizumi thought of Uchiha Madara. Joa, did you sense anything? Uchiha Itachi did not answer Uchiha Raizumi's words, but asked Bai Yu, because he, Uchiha Itachi, didn't know either. There is no emotion in these four people, only pure murderous intent. However, that murderous intent seems to be directed at you and Izumi-sama. Bai Yu said calmly. Huh? How is this possible? One's own people killing one's own people. Bai Yu, who was standing aside, did not hear the previous conversation between the three people, but he heard the word murderous intent clearly. Bai Yu immediately said softly in disbelief. Didn't I just say that Itachi has never seen these four people? Bai Yu said unhappily. Ah, haha. I didn't hear it just now. Bai Yu scratched his head and said awkwardly. In that case, you don't feel bad about killing them, do you, Itachi? Hearing Bai Yu's excited words, Bai Yu shook his head helplessly and touched his forehead. Uchiha Raizumi noticed Bai Yu's reaction and asked quietly, is there any problem? Bai Yu smiled bitterly and said, my brother is like my father. He seems to be civilized and gentle, but when it comes to fighting, the two of them are really cut from the same cloth. That's so exciting. Uchiha Raizumi was slightly stunned when she heard this. She didn't expect Bai Yu to have such a side. In her memory, for so many years, he had always been grinning at her, and sometimes he looked a little shy from time to time. This made Uchiha Raizumi feel that the distance between her and Bai Yu was one step closer. Well, there was no distance to begin with, so it can only be said that the relationship between the two was better. No, Uchiha Itachi said with a slight smile. Bai Yu, who was standing next to him, saw Uchiha Itachi's smile. Her face blushed and then returned to normal, looking at the enemy vigilantly. That's good. Bai Yu licked his tongue excitedly. His eyes were full of fighting spirit. Open the Dharma Eye. Bai Yu shouted softly. Earth spirit. Human spirit. Exclamation mark. Come out. Bai Yu shouted with a long spear in his hand. After so many years, except for the training on weekdays, this is the first time to officially summon the word spirit to fight. Kill. A dull voice appeared from behind Bai Yu. I saw a phantom that looked like an ancient warrior emerged from behind Bai Yu and rushed to the white enemy on the roof on the left. And Bai Yu also felt the spiritual power in his body being consumed. This is what the four of them called this new energy. It's not chakra, nor is it pure natural energy, so let's call it spiritual power. Baiki has the four attributes of thunder, fire, yin and yang. Because the Bai family's Dapha has been modified, Baiki's attributes have been merged together. Unlike the skills handed over to the Uchiha clan, the Uchiha clan skills are only suitable for the Uchiha clan, focusing on pupil skills and nourishing the body. The Bai family's Dapha focuses on the absorption of yin and yang power. The modified Bai family's Dapha not only has the effect of nourishing the body, but also has the effect of washing the marrow. After all, the skills of their own family should be of higher quality. The human spirit exudes black and purple flames. This is the embodiment of Baiki's power. Baiki, who rushed towards another white enemy, suddenly changed. The earth spirit had the energy support of Baiki, and in Baiki's mind, it turned into a handsome black and purple armor with a faint flame. As domineering as a god or demon. The spear came out like a dragon, and a long spear stabbed over. Just like the chaos of the devil, Uchiha Itachi was not idle either. A cold face, a smile appeared, and the body turned into a flock of crows, and disappeared on the spot. Appeared next to another white enemy on the roof, with a flash of cold light. The sharp blade in his hand, slashed at the enemy. Bai Yu and Uchiha Raizumi also looked at each other. Looking at the fighting Baiki and Uchiha Itachi, the two girls were also unwilling to admit defeat, and rushed towards the remaining enemy. After everyone came into close combat, everyone secretly thought it was not good. The four enemies' Sharingan turned, which was a sign of performing the pupil technique. The sharp blade in Uchiha Itachi's hand flew out along his hand, and was controlled by the enemy in front of him. Uchiha Itachi, who was counterattacked, turned into a group of crows again. The sharp blade in Uchiha Raizumi's hand was also controlled. However, just when Bai Yu's long sword was out of control, the Dharma Eye appeared in Bai Yu's eyes. An orange flame appeared on the sword. Bai Yu's attributes are the three attributes of fire, yin and yang. The erosion ability of the yin attribute, as well as the scorching energy, eroded, destroyed, and burned the mark imprinted on the sword. The human spirit is the spirit of the spirit world. Just kidding. It is a substantial energy spirit body. No matter how many brand marks you put, it is not enough for the human spirit. It must be said that the unlucky guy who met Baiki was really pitiful. Although the brand was successful, he was still smashed away by Baiki's powerful change of moves, and then he planned to control the spear in Baiki's hand. But how could Baiki let him do what he wanted? In the air, he shouted Earth Spirit. In a flash, the black and purple flames on his body gathered on the spear, as if they had consciousness. Baiki looked at the enemy in front of him excitedly, holding the spear with black and purple flames in his hand, made a gunflower, and rushed over. The battlefield changed again in an instant. Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Raizumi turned into mages. They released all kinds of ninjutsu crazily at the white enemy. Uchiha Itachi turned his right eye and blood slowly flowed out. Amaterasu. A ball of black flame appeared out of thin air and rushed towards the enemy. Since Uchiha Itachi had just advanced, the pupil technique was still a bit consuming for him. But this was enough. But I have to say that this white enemy was really cruel. Looking at the black flame burning his right leg, there was no pain in his eyes. He cut off his right leg expressionlessly, and then controlled the hidden weapon scattered on the ground, close to his thigh root, and turned it into a metal leg full of sharp blades. Aren't you worried about where it will be cut? Ahem. Let's get back to the topic. Seeing this, Uchiha Itachi frowned, thinking that his current strength was still too low. He formed seals with both hands at a very fast speed, and several after images of his hands fire escape. Great fire extinguishing. A burst of flame sprayed the enemy. Uchiha Raizumi's cold and serious face. Her eyes are full of wisdom. She possesses 6 attributes: wind, fire, thunder, earth, water, and yin. She knows a lot of ninjutsu, but this also means that she will consume a lot. However, Uchiha Raizumi has become a very good long-range output support mage. The judgment of timing is very accurate. Long-range support for the 3 people and the human spirit in the battle. All this was seen by 2 people in the corner. One is Hatake Tsukumo, and the other is Uchiha Shin. Hatake Tsukumo came here after Uchiha Shin, and saw this scene. Uchiha Shin was crazy jealous. Hatake Sakuma was very pleased. The cooperation of these 4 children was really tacit. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264, Nine-Tailed Fox. Boom. 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 At this moment, the Uchiha clan suddenly made 3 loud noises. 3 huge figures rose from the ground. 1 purple, 1 green, 1 blue. These 3 figures were Susanoo, 1 fourth form, 2 complete forms. These 3 noises also caught the attention of Bai Yu, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Raizumi. Seeing the 3 Susanos, Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Raizumi frowned. But the calm Uchiha Itachi did not move. Uchiha Raizumi knew very well who the users of these 3 Susanos were. Green fourth form Uchiha Shisu. Blue complete form Uchiha Obito. Purple complete form Uchiha Fugaku. This means that the Uchiha clan was under attack. And the enemy is very tricky, otherwise, it would be impossible to cast Susanoo in the village. Bai Yu and Bai Yu could vaguely see the figure in the Susanoo. The 4 people's hearts suddenly sank. It seems that the situation is not optimistic. Brother Ki, Joa, Izumi, make a quick decision and support the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Itachi shouted in a deep voice. Okay. Bai Yu, Bai Yu, and Uchiha Raizumi agreed. Another more violent attack than before. HMPH. Damn Uchiha clan. Well, since the little guys from the Uchiha clan are nice to me on weekdays, I'll help them. The nine-tailed fox, who was resting with his eyes closed in the back mountain, noticed the fighting atmosphere in the village, and opened his eyes. A pair of narrow eyes, deep and terrifying. The nine-tailed fox said something in his heart, and then rushed to Konoha! After more than a year of recuperation, the nine-tailed fox has recovered its former strength, and without the shackles of the seal, the nine-tailed fox's strength is even stronger than when it was controlled that time. The appearance of the nine-tailed fox made the ninjas and civilians of Konoha feel even more uneasy, secretly worried. Although the nine-tailed fox was subdued by Bai Yu, its former notoriety was still vivid in everyone's mind. How could everyone be assured? However, seeing that the nine-tailed fox did not stop and went straight to the Uchiha clan's territory, everyone was happy and worried. Everyone was guessing in their hearts whether the nine-tailed fox would help the Uchiha clan or take the opportunity to destroy the Uchiha clan. After all, the Uchiha clan was the most ruthless to bully the nine-tailed fox in the past, and they directly enslaved the nine-tailed fox. The situation of the Uchiha clan's territory at this time was terrible. It was a mess, with dead Uchiha clan members everywhere. Fortunately, when the accident happened, Minato Namikaze used the Flying Thunder God technique to transfer Uchiha Missy and Uchiha Sasuke to the Bai Mansion. If you ask where is the safest place in Konoha, it is definitely the Bai Mansion. This time's enemy made everyone very strange. They are all guys with white bodies and double-eyed Sharingan. In terms of individual strength, they are not too strong, but there are many of them. Moreover, the cooperation was very strange, as if they had practiced it thousands of times. The tacit cooperation was only comparable to that of Inoshika-chan in the whole Konoha. This made the Namikaze Minato, Nerushikaku, Akimichi Choza, Yamanaka Inoichi, Uchiha Fugaku, Uchiha Shisu, Uchiha Obito and some other Jonin ninjas very uncomfortable. Some powerful ninjutsu cannot be performed. Some large-scale ninjutsu cannot be performed either, because other innocent people in the village must be considered. Some more outstanding ninjas such as Aburame Shuei and Inuzuka Tsumuji were responsible for evacuating the crowd and protecting civilians. Ninetail. The Ninetail is coming. Someone shouted, and everyone's eyes were focused on the tall Ninetail running towards this side. Ninetail, why are you here? Namikaze Minato killed an enemy and shouted at the Ninetail in confusion. Nonsense. Of course I'm here to help. Usually, these little guys from the Uchiha clan treat me well. Unlike those guys, they usually treat me with contempt. Humph. Kyuubi said arrogantly. Kyuubi's words made the ninjas of the Uchiha clan happy. It seemed that they were right to treat Kyuubi better in the beginning. However, those ninjas and civilians who usually treated Kyuubi badly felt ashamed. Although the help of Kyuubi was not a big help for Konoha, the balance of victory was gradually tilting. Are you Uchiha who invaded Konoha and controlled Kyuubi? Hatake Tsukumo and Uchiha were facing each other in the woods near Konoha village. Hatake Tsukumo asked coldly. Oh, I didn't expect you knew me. It seems that I'm also famous. Uchiha said with a smile. A black cloak with red clouds, swaying in the wind. Incomparable heat. Stop being so beautiful and famous. If you hadn't told me last time, I wouldn't have known that there was such a person as you in this world. Hatake Tsukumo said with disdain. Old man, it seems that you are tired of living. Uchiha said coldly with a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. I'm old and my hair is not falling off. Unlike you, your hair has all fallen off. Hatake Tsukumo said disdainfully. However, Hatake Tsukumo is a little old now, because of the years, but as the saying goes, the sword is not old, and Hatake Tsukumo should not be underestimated now. Humph. Uchiha did not speak, but summoned a one-eyed creature. The space in front of the one-eyed creature was slightly distorted for a while, and a dense crowd of ninja tools appeared in front of Uchiha in an instant. Moreover, countless blades flew out from Uchiha right sleeve. Old man, I will send you to rest now. Uchiha said with disdain, and then the murderous intent in his eyes was strong. 10,000 blades. Uchiha shouted softly. At the same time, under Uchiha control, the surrounding ninja tools and blades covered Hatake Tsukumo in all directions. Strangle. Uchiha waved his hand. The blades began to rotate around Hatake Tsukumo like a meat grinder, and the range was getting smaller and smaller. Hatake Tsukumo backhandedly pulled out the White Fang. Hatake Tsukumo's name of Konoha White Fang is not called for nothing. In the blade formation, several white blade lights flashed, and the powerful blade energy expanded the blade formation. Hatake Tsukumo escaped from the formation with a body flash technique, and then struck Uchiha with a thunderbolt. A blade flashed. Slightly surprised Hatake Tsukumo, Uchiha put his hands together, and caught the white blade with his bare hands. At the same time, the Sharingan in Uchiha eyes quickly spread around. Hatake Tsukumo's vigilance made him retreat quickly. However, the White Fang in his hand escaped from his hand uncontrollably. Uchiha had a playful smile on his face. With a wave of his hand, the White Fang was controlled by Uchiha and flew in the air. The famous Hatake Tsukumo, without the White Fang, is it still the White Fang of Konoha? Uchiha said playfully. However, Hatake Tsukumo was just calm and looked at Uchiha coldly. You know what? Villains will die because of talking too much. Hatake Tsukumo said lightly. Pucci. Chapter 265 Silence. Pucci. Uchiha looked at his right chest in disbelief, and the cold blade pierced through from behind. When Uchiha was angry and looked at Hatake Tsukumo with shame. For Uchiha, this was definitely the second great shame after Bai Yu. As soon as Uchiha finished speaking, Hatake Tsukumo in front of him turned into a ball of white mist, and the originally controlled White Fang also turned into a shuriken. Uchiha's pupils shrank. Hatake Tsukumo's words came to his ears. Idiot, I split a clone from the beginning. Although I'm not good at ninjutsu, I can still perform simple ninjutsu. I'll give you a word. Ginger is still spicy. Hatake Tsukumo's tone with a bit of sarcasm and disdain made Uchiha so angry that his lungs almost exploded. Damn it. The Sharingan in Uchiha's eyes flowed again, and the blade controlled by Uchiha quickly moved to his back. Puff. Hatake Tsukumo pulled out his white fangs and dodged Uchiha's attack. Shame. Absolutely shame. If Uchiha's eyes were not Sharingan, he would definitely become a patient with red eye disease at this moment. Uchiha's face gradually distorted, and his attacks became more and more crazy. Very good. Uchiha shouted madly. Hands stretched out. The single-eyed creature's eyes distorted again. The blades floating around Uchiha increased again. The blades with cold light. Hatake Tsukumo couldn't help but frown. He didn't have Bai Yu's Akala, nor did he have Bai Yu's physique. All along, Hatake Tsukumo was proud of the swordsmanship of lightning attribute chakra. For a while, Hatake Tsukumo was caught in a battle with Uchiha. On the other side, the battle between Baki, Bai Yu, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Raizumi was also coming to an end. Accompanied by a powerful slash from the Earth Spirit, The first one killed the enemy, and then Baiki poked the enemy's head with a gun. Uchiha Itachi's eyes were bleeding, and he used Amaterasu to turn the enemy's limbs into ashes, and finally turned the whole person into ashes. Then with the help of Uchiha Raizumi, Bai Yu seized the opportunity, and cut off the enemy's head with a sword. The 4 people who killed for the first time looked a little pale. But fortunately, the 4 people were very strong in their hearts. They calmed down for a moment, and returned to normal. Let's go to support. Uchiha Itachi looked at the 9-tailed fox in the distance, which was covered with purple armor, and he was relieved. But his face was still serious. Yeah. Baiki, Bai Yu, and Uchiha Raizumi nodded, and ran towards the Uchiha clan. As the battle moved, Uchiha Fugaku's heart was bleeding. Not to mention the Uchiha clan. That problem can be solved with money, but the sacrifice of the clan members cannot be solved with money. Able to control metal, cooperate well, not afraid of life and death. What on earth are those pale-skinned, small, and Sharingan guys? Exclamation mark. Uchiha Fugaku was puzzled. Are they from the Uchiha clan? No, there are no Uchiha clan members left outside, except for Uchiha Madara. But when Uchiha Madara betrayed the village, he was so old, and all those who betrayed the village together were dead. Could it be? Uchiha Madara is so old, does he still have the ability? Besides, these guys are obviously very weird. Could it be that they have genetic mutations because of their age? Uchiha Fugaku thought to himself. For a while, within the territory of the Uchiha clan, several Konoha ninjas were fighting against the enemy, and Namikaze Minato turned into a yellow flash and harvested crazily. Nerishikaku, Akimichi Choza, Yamanaka Inoichi, and the combination of Inoshika Chao cooperated well, like a rock, and killed the enemy steadily. Uchiha Fugaku put armor on the 9-tails, and slaughtered them unilaterally. At the same time, Uchiha Shizu and Uchiha Obito also relied on the thick skin and flesh of Susanoo, ignored the attacks of ninja tools, and harvested heads one by one. The noise in the village gradually became smaller, and Uchiha Shin in the woods narrowed his eyes. Do we have to use plan B? Uchiha Shin said unwillingly. The one-eyed creature quickly ran to Uchiha Shin, teleported Uchiha Shin away, then retracted all the blades and left immediately. The speed of transmission was so fast that Hatake Tsukumo didn't react. If Bai Yu was here, he would definitely be surprised, because in front of him, the transmission speed was not so fast. This was thanks to Bai Yu. In order to prevent such things from happening in the future, Uchiha Shin specially optimized the transmission speed. Hatake Tsukumo felt uneasy and quickly ran towards the village, the direction of the Uchiha clan. In a corner of the Uchiha clan's territory, Uchiha Shin appeared here. Uchiha Shin bit his thumb, drew a line on his left palm with his own blood, then quickly formed seals with both hands, and then slapped the ground. 9-tailed. With Uchiha Shin's light shout, the ground spread out seals around his palm. However, what surprised Uchiha Shin was that there was nothing except the dust. On the other side, the 9-tailed, who was helping the Uchiha clan to fight the enemy, suddenly froze for a moment, and his heart beat twice. But it returned to normal in an instant. Uchiha Fugaku felt the abnormality of the 9-tailed, and hurriedly asked, 9-tailed, what's wrong with you? Just now there was a guy who wanted to control me. But you did something to me, and the control failed. 9-tailed said angrily. Because the breath that 9-tailed felt just now was very familiar. It was the guy who controlled him last time. If it weren't for him, he wouldn't have been persecuted inhumanely by Bai Yu. If it weren't for him, he wouldn't be free. Ha! Exclamation mark. I have to thank him? Pa. Kyuubi thought about it, cursed a few words, but didn't take it seriously, and continued to help the Uchiha clan fight the enemy. However, Uchiha Fugaku frowned slightly. He thought to himself that it was fortunate that you had done something to Kyuubi in advance, otherwise it would be terrible. No, this guy's in Konoha village. Exclamation mark. Thinking of this, Uchiha Fugaku's heart sank. He shouted to Namikaze Minato. Minato, the guy who controlled Kyuubi last time is in the village. Namikaze Minato heard this, and his thoughts were full of thoughts. Shikaku. Choza. Hey, organize people immediately, and increase the protection of the village. The guy who controlled Kyuubi last time is in the village. Namikaze Minato shouted to the 3 people beside him, Ino, Shikaku and Cho. In an emergency, he couldn't care so much, and didn't explain too much, and hurriedly issued his own orders. Nerishikaku, Akimichi Choza, and Yamanaka Heiai heard the words, with a serious face, without saying much nonsense, a flash body technique, disappeared. The battle is really fierce. A melodious voice resounded throughout the Uchiha clan. The one who made this voice was Uchiha Shin, but now he was wearing a mask. Look who this is. Uchiha Shin held a woman in his hand, holding her neck, and facing the people of Konoha. He said playfully. When everyone looked at the woman's face, they all looked at Uchiha Shin angrily. Shizune. Uchiha Shizu shouted angrily in the sky. Exclamation mark. For a moment, the murderous aura on Uchiha Shizu was very strong. Chapter 266. Surprising changes. Let him go. Uchiha Shizu roared in the air. The green Susanoo shone even more brightly. Because of this incident, the battle stopped instantly. The enemy moved closer to Uchiha Itachi, and the Konoha side moved closer to Namikaze Minato. But there was an exception, and that was Uchiha Shizu. No matter whose loved one was captured, it would be impossible for him to stay calm. Uchiha Shizu controlled the Susanoo, and was about to rush towards Uchiha Shin. However, the green Susanoo was blocked by the purple and blue Susanoo on the left and right. There was also a Ninetales covered in purple armor. The Ninetales blocked Uchiha Shizu head on. Let me go. I want to save Shizune. Uchiha Shizu was hugged by Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Obito. Uchiha Shizu could only struggle and shouted anxiously. Calm down. Are you still the captain of our new dragon team in this state? Look over there. Hatake Kakashi, Tachibana Yukio, Sarutobi Asuma, Yuhi Kurenai, my guy, and me, Uchiha Obito. They are all with you. Can't you calm down? Although Uchiha Obito is a bit stupid on weekdays, he is really reliable at critical moments. Uchiha Obito's words calmed Uchiha Shizu's anxious mood a little. He looked at the people in the distance, who were staring at Uchiha Shin with a stern face, and the old dragon teammate who were about to sneak up on Uchiha Shin's back. Uchiha Shizu didn't say anything, but looked at Uchiha Shin with red eyes. His eyes were originally red, and now, he really looked like a demon from hell, with red eyes. Shizu, I know you are anxious, but if you rush over like this, it will only make Shizune more dangerous. Be calm. We are all by your side. As the head of the clan, Uchiha Fugaku revealed sophistication and calmness in his words. Uchiha Shin, what on earth do you want to do? Namikaze Minato shouted coldly at Uchiha Shin. What am I doing? Haha. Uchiha grabbed Shizune's neck and laughed twistedly and crazily. I want the entire Uchiha clan to be destroyed. Only I, Uchiha Shin, am the orthodox Uchiha. No one else is worthy. Uchiha Shin said arrogantly. Hey, Shin. The time is not right now. Don't forget Lord Madara's plan. Black Zetsu, who was attached to Uchiha Shin, said to the arrogant Uchiha Shin. Got it. Uchiha Shin whispered impatiently, but now he has already expanded. Sometimes, Uchiha Shin even wanted to replace Uchiha Madara and become the master of this world. However, Uchiha Shin was not idle either, but silently ordered those clones who were cultivated from cells extracted from himself, and ordered them to collect the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. Let's call these clones Little Uchiha Shin. Uchiha Shin, let Shizune go, and I'll let you go. Minato Namikaze shouted in a deep voice. No. Lord Hokage. They are the enemy of Konoha. We can't let him go. Yes. Let's not talk about the last time. This time it's an attack on the Uchiha clan. Hokage. We can't let him go. Hokage. Please think twice. Hearing Minato Namikaze's voice, the surrounding ninjas shouted at Minato Namikaze with resentment on their faces. Haha. That's fine. Then let's see whether my life, Uchiha Shin, is more important, or the life of the woman in my hand is more important. Uchiha Shin shouted with a nonchalant smile. Because Uchiha Shin knew that the woman in his hand was Tsunade's disciple, and being taught by Bai Yu and Tsunade together, she must be extremely important. Sure enough, after listening to Uchiha Shin's words, everyone was silent. After all, that was the apprentice of Bai Yu and Tsunade. Hokage-sama, I support you. That rubbish's life is really worthless. At worst, we can all hunt him down to the ends of the earth. That's right. My brother was once treated by Shizune-sama. I must remember this favor. That rubbish's life is too worthless. Yes. My Uchiha clan will never let Shizune-sama be in danger because of a rubbish. That rubbish. Put Shizune-sama down quickly and get out of here. I don't care whether you believe it or not. Get out of here, rubbish, and don't pollute the air of my great Konoha. That's right, it smells so bad. After a brief calm, the voices of everyone burst out, which caught Minato Namikaze off guard. Everyone's reaction also made Uchiha Shizu extremely grateful, but some were happy and some were worried. Although he expected it, Uchiha Nobuka's blood pressure almost burst out of his capillaries when he was told so bluntly. Damn it. Uchiha Shin's distorted face under the mask became even more distorted, and he couldn't help but squeeze Kato Shizune's hand even harder. Looking at Kato Shizune's face full of pain, Uchiha Shizu couldn't bear it any longer. Damn it. Let go. Uchiha Shizu's head buzzed, and he felt his eyes became clearer, but the angry Uchiha Shizu didn't think much, but broke free from the shackles of Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Obito, and rushed towards Uchiha Shin. Shizu. Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Obito saw Uchiha Shizu's actions and shouted anxiously. Seeing Uchiha Shizu's actions, Konoha's ninjas were also awesome. Support Uchiha Shizu. For a moment, the 8 people of the new dragon group and the 8 people of the old dragon group rushed up at the first time. Then the ninjas of Konoha also rushed up. Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Obito also looked cold and rushed up. Namikaze Minato arrived first, after starting from behind, and turned into a yellow flash. Stupid Konoha ninjas. See you later. Uchiha Shin laughed triumphantly. Behind him, a one-eyed creature appeared at some point, and even behind every little Uchiha Shin there was a one-eyed creature. With the distortion of space, the figures of Uchiha Shin, little Uchiha Shin, and the one-eyed creature gradually distorted. Namikaze Minato was the first to arrive in front of Kato Shizune. Looking at Uchiha Shin's gradually distorted hand, his face changed, and he quickly snatched Kato Shizune. Under the gradually disappearing mask of Uchiha Shin, a sinister smile appeared. With a wave of his hand, an extremely sharp blade went straight to the back of Kato Shizune's head. Uchiha Shin's move made Namikaze Minato's face change. Namikaze Shimon could definitely dodge it, but Kato Shizune couldn't. In addition to the speed of this blade, Namikaze Shimon didn't have time to dodge with Kato Shizune. In a flash, Namikaze Minato's heart sank, and he made a decision. Pucci. No. Uchiha Shizu's eyes flashed with disbelief, and the Mangekyou Sharingan in his eyes gradually changed. Bai Yu, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Raizumi, who arrived late, also saw this scene. Bai Yu and Uchiha Raizumi covered their mouths in disbelief. Baiki's eyes widened, and even the usually calm Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but shrink his pupils. Chapter 267. Minato Namikaze's brain dead. Blood appeared on Kato Shizune's face. Uchiha Shin disappeared from this space with an arrogant smile. All the Konoha ninjas were stunned. Uchiha Shin's blade hit Minato Namikaze's neck, the central nervous system. Because of the height distance, Minato Namikaze used his body to block the attack for Kato Shizune. Minato Namikaze looked around and smiled. Plop, plop. Minato Namikaze fell to the ground. Kato Shizune closed her eyes in pain and also fell to the ground. Sister. Baiki saw this, his pupils shrank, and he shouted hurriedly, because he knew that the only one who could save Minato Namikaze now was his sister Bai Yu, who had a strong yang attribute. With Baiki's shout, everyone came back to their senses. They rushed over, but the first one to rush over was Uchiha Shizu and Bai Yu. Joa, look at Lord Hokage. Uchiha Shizu dispersed Susanoo. He shouted to Bai Yu hurriedly. Seeing Kato Shizune's appearance, we know that Kato Shizune has been hit by an illusion. The most important thing at the moment is to check on Minato Namikaze. Bai Yu nodded and quickly condensed a large amount of chakra in his hand, covering the back of Minato Namikaze's neck. The blade was forced out little by the chakra. A stream of blood flowed out uncontrollably. Bai Yu quickly increased the output of chakra. The ninjas of Konoha surrounded him one after another. After a long time, Minato Namikaze's injuries were healed by Bai Yu. Just when everyone was relieved, Bai Yu cried. Everyone's heart was immediately pulled up. Sister. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Baiki hurried over and asked. Joa. Don't be anxious. Talk slowly. Uchiha Itachi also said calmly. The injury is healed. But, woo woo. Bai couldn't help crying again. Joa, what's wrong? Tell me quickly. Uchiha asked hurriedly. What happened? Hatake Tsukumo arrived late. Seeing that there were many Konoha ninjas, there were no enemies. He was relieved, but when he walked into the crowd and saw Bai crying and Namikaze Minato and Kato Shizune lying unconscious, his heart sank again. Father. Hatake Kakashi, who was standing by, quickly told Hatake Tsukumo what had just happened. Now the most important person was none other than Hatake Tsukumo. When everyone saw Hatake Tsukumo, they felt like they had found their backbone. Joa, don't be anxious. Talk slowly. How is Lord Hokage doing now? Hatake Tsukumo knew that Bai had the ability to heal people. Uncle Minato's injury has been healed. Bai calmed down and said, it's fine if it's healed. Why are you crying? Hatake Tsukumo thought that Bai was crying because Namikaze Minato was injured, and he was relieved and said, it's healed. But the position is different. Bai said immediately. What's wrong with the position? Hatake Tsukumo asked with a sullen look in his heart. Daddy said that in that place, minor injuries are okay, but if you get injured like Uncle Minato, you are likely to be brain dead. Bai said, holding back tears. What? Hatake Tsukumo exclaimed. What's brain death? Hatake Tsukumo asked immediately. TSK. There was a booing around. But this was also the result Hatake Tsukumo wanted. After all, the injury of the Hokage was not a trivial matter. If people's hearts were not stabilized at this time, I'm afraid Konoha would be in chaos. Although Konoha is getting stronger, there are also many people with good intentions waiting for opportunities. There are also ninjas from other 3 villages who are staring at Konoha. These guys are looking forward to something happening in Konoha all day and all night. Daddy said that brain death is a vegetative state. People are not completely dead, but they just can't wake up. The body's vital signs are normal, but they have no consciousness. Bai said with red eyes. Bai suddenly remembered that this busy uncle would definitely bring her some candy or toys every time he came to her house. I couldn't help crying again. Then Joa, did you tell us how to save this brain dead person? Hatake Tsukumo asked calmly. Daddy didn't say that. When he said that, he just smiled disdainfully, saying that the idiot would be attacked like this. Bai, who was outspoken, felt that it was a bit inappropriate to say this, so she stopped talking. The corners of the mouths of the surrounding ninjas also grinned. Joa, then can you check it? Hatake Tsukumo glanced at the unconscious idiot and asked in a deep voice. I can't. I just have the ability to treat. I haven't learned any medical knowledge. Sister Shizune, Sister Nohuralin, and Mom are all very good. Bai said quickly. Everyone, return to your posts immediately. Uchiha Shizu, send Shizune back to rest. When Shizune recovers, help treat Hokage. Uchiha Obito, go to Hakufu, and ask Tsunade and Nohuralin to go to Konoha Hospital immediately to treat Hokage. Fugaku, thank you for your hard work on the Uchiha clan. Shikaku, maintain the law and order of Konoha. Kakashi, go and explain the situation to Kushina. Sarutobi Asuma, thank you for your hard work. Please ask the 3rd Hokage to return to Konoha. I will escort Hokage to Konoha Hospital now. Hatake Tsukumo is indeed a veteran cage level ninja. The extremely correct and wise instructions were issued quickly and accurately. This allowed the originally chaotic ninjas to restore normal order. Because of the backbone Hatake Tsukumo, everyone was no longer panicked and gloomy. Sarutobi Asuma's mouth twitched. He knew very well that in this situation, if Sarutobi Hiruzen was called back, once something happened to the 4th Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen would be able to take the position of Hokage, so that Konoha would not be in chaos. However, Asuma Sarutobi knew Hiruzen Sarutobi's attitude towards things. It was definitely not as decisive and bold as when Minato Namikaze was in power, but there was nothing he could do about it. Helplessly, Asuma Sarutobi had to obey the order. Wait for Hatake Tsukumo to send Minato Namikaze to Konoha Hospital. Then he saw Kato Shizune running over. After Kato Shizune knew what happened, she rushed to Konoha Hospital without hesitation. Uchiha Shizu did not stop him and ran over with Kato Shizune. He hurriedly checked Minato Namikaze's physical condition. Tsunade and Nohuralin also rushed over quickly, and without saying a word, they treated Minato Namikaze. As for Baking Cheng, she was still addicted to the game. It's not that Baking Cheng was indifferent, nor was it that Baking Cheng was heartless, but she knew that the enemy was not strong this time, and there was no need for her to take action. She also knew that Bai Yu was everything, as long as Konoha village was not destroyed. As for the people in the village, as long as Bai Yu, his two sisters-in-law, Bai Qi, Bai Yao, Bai Ying, and Bai Hao are safe, then it will be no big deal. When the entire Konoha hospital was busy treating Minato Namikaze, the downstairs became lively again. Hatake Kakashi was seen carrying Uzumaki Naruto on his back, holding the unconscious Kushina in his arms, with a pair of dead fish eyes, and sending him to the hospital without any emotion. This made the Konoha hospital busy again. The Hokage's family, except for the young one, were all hospitalized. Seeing the medical ninja moving away from him, Hatake Kakashi sighed helplessly, pulled out Uzumaki Naruto from behind, and took out a bottle from his arms to feed Uzumaki Naruto part-time. Chapter 268 confirmed. Minato. When Kushina woke up, the first thing she did was to shout out Minato Namikaze's name. Kakashi Hatake, who was the keeper of Uzumaki Naruto, saw Kushina wake up and hurried over. Minato teacher, he is in the intensive care unit. Kakashi Hatake said in a deep voice. Take me there. Kushina heard it and hurriedly got out of bed. Kakashi Hatake had to take the anxious Kushina to the ward. At this time, there were many people around Minato Namikaze. All the top medical forces of Konoha were dispatched. It was not enough. Seeing the frowns on everyone's faces, Kushina's heart sank. Sister Tsunade, what's wrong? When will Minato wake up? Kushina saw Tsunade and asked hurriedly, as if she had seen a life-saving straw. This. Tsunade looked at Kushina with red eyes and an anxious face, and didn't know what to say. Shizune. Lin. You will know it eventually. Kushina looked at Kato, Shizune and Nohurulin beside her, and quickly grabbed their hands and asked. Kato, Shizune and Nohurulin's eyes also turned red, and 2 lines of tears slowly flowed down without saying a word. Minato. Kushina was about to collapse, and threw herself on Namikaze Minato, and could only use crying to relieve her helpless mood. Hatake Tsukumo, Nerishikaku, Akimichi Choza, Yamanaka Inoichi, Uchiha Shisu, Uchiha Obito, Tachibana Yukio, Yuhi and Might Guy also turned their heads away from watching this sad scene. It was really unbearable to watch. Too sad. If the teacher was here at this time, it would be great. Uchiha Obito said helplessly in a low voice. However, this sentence was heard by Kushina, who was crying. Yes. You. Where is you? Is he in the White House? Hurry up and ask him to help. Kushina's eyes lit up, and she looked at everyone and said. Hatake Tsukumo and Nerishikaku knew that Bai Yu was not in the village now, and they showed helpless looks in their eyes. Others who didn't know all showed light in their eyes. Sister Tsunade, where is you? Please ask you to help Minato. Kushina said with red eyes, while holding Tsunade's hand. Tsunade was about to say something, but she didn't want to hide it when she saw Kushina's look, but she was afraid that the news that Bai Yu was not in the village would spread. Tsunade, now that things have come to this, tell me. I have sent Sarutobi Asuma to invite the 3rd generation to come back. Hatake Tsukumo said in a deep voice. 3rd generation? Tsunade thought about it. Yes, in this situation, if the 3rd generation was not asked to take charge of the situation, Konoha would probably fall into chaos. Okay. Yu is not in Konoha because of his breakthrough in strength. He has gone out to find a place to retreat. Tsunade said helplessly. What? It's over. It's over now. Minato. Kushina took 2 steps back, extremely desperate. However, his sister Baking Cheng is in Konoha. She has been with Bai Yu for so long, she should know some strange knowledge. Tsunade then said. Baking Cheng is in Konoha. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Why didn't she show up in Konoha? Tsunade, who knew Baking Cheng's character well, twitched her mouth. Needless to say, this guy's definitely playing games. I'll go and bring her. Tsunade knew that with Baking Cheng's character, no one could call her unless it was her and Uchiha Makoto. Tsunade said this and turned away. Not long after, Tsunade brought Baking Cheng, who was pouting, to the ward. Really, I'm playing in the ranking match. I've been playing for so long, but I'm still in bronze, and I'm about to go to silver. This is terrible. Baking Cheng complained in her heart. King Cheng, your brother is not here. Please help Minato. Please. Seeing Baking Cheng appear, Kushina bowed deeply to Baking Cheng and said, Kushina, don't be like this. I'm not good at medical ninjutsu. I can only treat injuries. Don't worry, I'll take a look first. Seeing Kushina's look, Baking Cheng was embarrassed to think about the game. He quickly helped Kushina up, walked to Minato Namikaze, and began to check. Baking Cheng looked for a while, and said helplessly, sorry, I can't do anything. I can only find that Minato's central nervous system has been damaged. I can be sure that Minato Namikaze is brain dead. Hearing this, Kushina sat down on the ground. She looked at Minato Namikaze on the bed with lifeless eyes. Aunt, think of a way. At worst, I can help you get promoted. Bakey was scratching his head anxiously behind Tsunade. Suddenly, Bakey thought of something, came to Baking Cheng and whispered, really? Baking Cheng's eyes lit up and asked quietly, it's more real than real gold and silver. Bakey said hurriedly, ahem. Well, actually you don't have to worry. Minato seems to be unconscious, but his soul is still in his body. As long as you take good care of your body and wait for my brother to come back, there will be a way. It's just that he will be unconscious for a while. And, during this time, Kushina, you can also talk to Minato more. I remember my brother said before that brain-dead vegetative people still have hearing and touch, but they don't have consciousness. As long as they are stimulated to a certain extent, there is a great possibility that they will wake up. Baking Cheng's eyes turned, and after a little thought, she hurriedly said, Aunt, this is the solution you said. Bakey looked at Baking Cheng resentfully. What is this? It's the same as not saying it. Uncle Minato can't wake up immediately. Stinky boy, don't deny it. This is not a solution, it's just a matter of time. Baking Cheng clenched her little fist, looked at Bakey fiercely and whispered. Bakey looked at him angrily, and didn't dare to speak. Really? As long as you talk more and stimulate Minato, there is a chance that Minato will wake up. Kushina's health was full in an instant. She stood up, and said while holding Baking Cheng's hand. Yeah. That's it. Baking Cheng said with a smile. Thank you. Thank you. I know what to do. Kushina also said with a hopeful smile. However, others were not optimistic about this method. After all, this method was too slim. However, in this situation, we had to stabilize Kushina's mental state first. Hey, master. Did you come up with such a trick because you played games and didn't participate in the battle before and you felt guilty? Uchiha Obito, who was not dead, came to Baking Cheng and said meanly. Bakey, who was standing by, shouted that he was wise. This was exactly what he thought in his heart, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. However, Bakey still looked at Uchiha Obito with pity. In his heart, he had to admire brother Obito's ability to commit suicide. Bang! Crash! The angry Baking Cheng kicked Uchiha Obito out of the window. Noharalin blushed and ran out to find someone to repair the window. She blushed not because of anything else, but because Uchiha Obito could be really silly sometimes. Chapter 269, The Return of Sarutobi Hiruzen. The reason why I didn't participate in this battle is because it was unnecessary. If everyone wants me to take action, then I'm cheap. I'm not my brother, the battle maniac. Wherever there is a battle, there is him. Baking Cheng folded her hands in front of her chest and said proudly, "What's wrong with Minato?" An old and magnetic voice came from the window. Everyone looked at the window. Who else could it be but Jiraiya? Lord Jiraiya. Lord Jiraiya. Humph. Although Jiraiya's style is a problem, Jiraiya's strength is indeed very strong, and everyone said respectfully. But the cold snort naturally came from Tsunade's mouth. In the past few years, since Bai Yu invested in a hot spring hotel for Jiraiya, Konoha village has been peaceful. However, the area where Bai Yu invested in Jiraiya is a village with a strong tourism industry, which makes Jiraiya feast his eyes. There are young ladies from various countries who are willing to travel, and there is an endless stream, especially for the lurking ability that Jiraiya has cultivated over the years. No one has disturbed him in the past few years, and it is amazing that there is no discovery. Hey, Tsunade, I haven't seen you for so many years. You're still as amazing as ever. but you seem even more attractive. Jiraiya flashed and approached Tsunade, saying in a mean way. Tensho kick. Bang. A human-shaped decoration appeared on the wall next to him. Jiraiya slid down the wall naturally. Just when everyone thought Jiraiya was dead, Jiraiya slowly stood up and coughed twice. I have to say, Tsunade, your strength has improved a lot. If I hadn't improved, I would have been kicked to death by you. Help me heal it. I have about 6 broken ribs. It hurts. Jiraiya covered his chest and said in a mean way. Shizune. Tsunade said coldly. Shizune walked to Jiraiya's side and healed him. Jiraiya, who was standing aside, saw Shizune's treatment method. Exclaimed, oh, that's great. This technique has the shadow of Tsunade and Bai Yu. It seems that your medical ninjutsu is excellent. By the way, I want to write a novel called The Temptation of Medical Ninja recently. Are you interested in discussing it with me? Sure enough, the 3 sentences are inseparable from the nature of LSP. No need. That, it has been treated. Kato Shizune quickly finished the treatment and said, hiding behind Uchiha Shisu. Seeing this situation, Jiraiya helplessly covered his forehead and said with emotion, oh my. I didn't let you, that kid, help me run the hot spring hotel. I didn't know that there were so many outstanding female ninjas in Konoha. Hey. As he scanned, Jiraiya's eyes fell on Baking Cheng. Jiraiya knew Baking Cheng, but at that time, although Baking Cheng was beautiful, she had a holy temperament, and with Bai Yu there, Jiraiya had no chance. Now, King Cheng, are you interested in drinking coffee with me, talking about life, and talking about ideals? Bang. Shizune. Please help me treat it again. A rub seems to have pierced my lung. Although Jiraiya's appearance caused a lot of commotion in the ward, it also made everyone's nervous and depressed mood much better. After learning about Minato Namikaze's situation, Jiraiya's cynicism disappeared, replaced by the seriousness and stability that a ninja should have. Uchiha-shin. Humph. I'll go investigate. Jiraiya said and disappeared in the ward. After everyone stayed for a while, they returned to their respective posts. After this raid, everyone had things to do. Finally, Tsunade took Baking Cheng to say goodbye to Kushina. Only Hatake Kakashi, who was a part-time breeder of Uzumaki Naruto, and Kushina, and the unconscious Minato Namikaze were left in the ward. After this incident, the strength of the Uchiha clan has declined rapidly. Some clever Uchiha clan ninjas who were still strong enough to open the Sharingan survived. But the overall strength, Fortunately, the Uchiha clan has 3 eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, and Uchiha Genji is still uncertain. Uchiha Shisu also advanced to the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan despite his drastic emotional fluctuations. The next day, Hokage's office. I didn't expect it. Sarutobi Hiruzen rushed back to the village overnight after hearing the news. Sitting in the Hokage's office chair, listening to Hatake Tsukumo reporting the situation, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. In the past few years, he has also heard about some things in Konoha, although his old friend, but overall, Sarutobi Hiruzen is still quite relieved. I told you a long time ago not to mess with Bai Yu, but he didn't listen. It's all over. Now, I, who should have been retired, have to come forward. I know. Tsukumo, quickly sort out the list of ninjas who died in this raid, as well as the losses. Summarize the general situation of Konoha in the past few years. I want to take a look and get familiar with the current Konoha as soon as possible. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, yes. Hatake Tsukumo said and disappeared. Hey. Things have come to this. Relax first, busy days are coming. Sarutobi Hiruzen silently took out the crystal ball. In 3 days, Sarutobi Hiruzen first held a morning meeting for the sacrifice ninjas. He took the opportunity to skillfully give everyone a speech on the will of fire. Then he visited Namikaze Minato and went to the ninja school to see the seedlings of Konoha village now. At this site, Bai Yu, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Raizumi immediately shocked Sarutobi Hiruzen. He smiled with relief. Konoha's future will be stronger. On the 3rd day, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the scroll sent by Hatake Tsukumo, and his wrinkled old face smiled like a chrysanthemum. I didn't expect it. I mentioned financial independence in a tactful way before, but Bai Yu actually made it happen. Dragon Group. Yeah, not bad. Bai's group, Lanteng Technology. Tsukumo, what is that network thing? Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't figure it out, so he looked at Hatake Tsukumo and asked. After Hatake Tsukumo's explanation, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally understood and thought to himself that Bai Yu was really capable. He actually thought of using sealing techniques to build a virtual world in the spirit world. Sarutobi Hiruzen continued to read. When he saw the latest news, Sarutobi Hiruzen fluttered and stood up. Hatake Tsukumo also frowned, thinking that something important was going on. This kid Bai Yu is too much. He actually flirted with the Mizukage of the Mist Village. The most annoying thing is that he actually succeeded. He was just about to get married. Oh my god. This. Sarutobi Hiruzen was full of jealousy. He couldn't help but shout it out. Hatake Tsukumo heard it, his feet lightened, and he almost fell down. Third generation, is this what you did? Hatake Tsukumo looked helpless. Ahem, but fortunately, we have won the cooperation of the Mist Village. Even if there is a battle in the future, we will not be fighting alone. At worst, we don't have to worry about being attacked from all sides. Sarutobi Hiruzen noticed Hatake Tsukumo's actions and quickly changed the subject. Chapter 274 years later. 4 years later, Sarutobi Hiruzen returned to Konoha to take charge of the overall situation. The ninjas of Konoha thought that Sarutobi Hiruzen would make drastic reforms. After all, the current Konoha is completely different from when Sarutobi Hiruzen was in power. But unexpectedly, Sarutobi Hiruzen not only did not reform, but on the basis of the original Konoha, he made a new management and development strategy. Moreover, this management strategy is bolder, more innovative, and more comprehensive than when Namikaze Minato was in power. This immediately settled down the Konoha village, which was originally in a state of panic because of the Namikaze Minato incident. And everyone couldn't help but sigh that Konoha not only has many talents, but the geniuses of the older generation have demonstrated the saying that the old ginger is still spicy. After Sarutobi Hiruzen returned to the throne of Hokage, the daimyo of the Land of Fire thought that Sarutobi Hiruzen, the old school Hokage, should restore the previous system. But what they didn't expect was that the letter from the daimyo of the Land of Fire had just arrived in Sarutobi Hiruzen's hands. Sarutobi Hiruzen then sent all the members of the Dragon Group to be arranged around the daimyo's mansion in the Land of Fire. The daimyo also questioned Sarutobi Hiruzen why he did this, but the old man replied, I'm very sorry to scare the daimyo, because Konoha's strength has increased in recent years, and the peace has been too long. In order to prevent the ninja spirit from slacking off, let them practice and be ready to face emergencies at any time, so that the safety of the Land of Fire can be guaranteed. I hope the daimyo will forgive me. As an old man with a deep mind, how could the daimyo not know the intention behind Sarutobi Hiruzen's seemingly humble letter? Sarutobi Hiruzen actually did this on purpose, in order to show the current strength of Konoha and make the daimyo afraid. You once cut off my supply, but after our economic independence, coupled with our strength, the people now live a peaceful life. If you dare to do anything, at the least, I will mess with your daimyo mansion, and at the worst, I will not protect the Land of Fire. If you are friendly, I can protect you. If you are unfriendly, you are dispensable to me. This incident made everyone see that Sarutobi Hiruzen not only has not aged in mentality, but also has a sharp sword. He still has the domineering aura that a Hokage should have. Nonsense. In the past, all the clans had ulterior motives in order to obtain better benefits for their own families. No matter what they did, they had their 3 old friends by their side to advise. Sarutobi Hiruzen was tired and disheartened, and he ended up like that. But now, under the influence of the Bai family consortium and the kind character of Namikaze Minato, all the benefits are reasonably distributed, and those who deserve it will not be less, and those who don't deserve it, even if Bai Yu and Namikaze Minato don't say it, other families will not agree. Balance, justice, and human feelings. In addition, Namikaze Minato has been managing Konoha village for so long, everyone has long been accustomed to it. It can be said that as long as there is no stupid person, to be the Hokage of Konoha village today, even if there is no reform and no new strategy, just following the rules. It is enough to prevent Konoha village from being remembered by other big and small countries for decades. If the Konoha village was so good, and Sarutobi Hiruzen was still the same as before, then he would not have been elected as the third Hokage. In particular, each villager knew everything about Konoha, including when Minato Namikaze happened, what kind of attack the village suffered, and when Sarutobi Hiruzen returned to the village. In addition, every day they would receive inquiries from the 4 generations of Reikage, the 4 generations of Kazekage Rasa, and Inoki from the 3 villages. They wanted to find out Sarutobi Hiruzen's attitude, whether Bai Yu really left the village, and where he went. Because under Bai Yu's guidance, Minato Namikaze successfully transformed from a soft faction to a gentle hardliner, especially Bai Yu's strength. They were very afraid. They knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen was a peace advocate, and to find out Sarutobi Hiruzen's attitude was nothing more than to see if they could use the war as an excuse to get some benefits. The reason for inquiring about Bai Yu was to consider what the chances of winning would be if Bai Yu was not in the village. If Bai Yu was not in the village, where did he go? Would he return to the village when the war was launched? But they underestimated Sarutobi Hiruzen's methods. Being able to grasp the information so quickly, it seems that there are many spies in the village. It seems that Minato's illness gave many people an opportunity to take advantage of it. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not hesitate, and directly ordered to mobilize all the Anbu ninjas and the Dragon Group ninjas who had just returned from the Fire Country Daimyo's mansion, to wipe out the spies in the entire Fire Country village. As the squad leader of the village's senior ninja squad, Narashikaku was naturally ordered to ensure the safety of the village in the process of clearing out spies. Even the police station in charge of the Uchiha clan was used by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Especially after knowing about the Uchiha clan, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally felt relieved. He was not as cautious about the Uchiha clan as before, guarding against the Uchiha clan. Of course, except for the Mist Village, no ninja from other villages will be left alive. For a moment, other villages were quiet again. It was for this reason that Beiki and Baiyo had to say goodbye to Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto. Uchiha Itachi also had to say goodbye to Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Missy. As for Uchiha Raizumi, she naturally had to say goodbye to Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto. Because they were targeted by Sarutobi Hiruzen, they were recruited into the Anbu as soon as they graduated. Of course, the 4 of them wanted to join the Dragon Group, but Sarutobi Hiruzen, the old thief, let the 4 people enter the Anbu first on the grounds that Bai Yu was not there, and the Dragon Group could not select. When the 4 people got close to the Anbu, they would develop into solid Anbu ninjas little by little. However, Beiki, Baiyo, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Raizumi naturally didn't know what Sarutobi Hiruzen was thinking. After thinking about it, it was true that Bai Yu could not be selected when he was not in the village. When Bai Yu came back for the selection, they would just sign up. Moreover, in the Anbu, he can help Bai Yu find out if there are any good talents and bring them to the Dragon Group. So, Sarutobi Hiruzen and 4 little foxes with ulterior motives went to the Anbu base together. When they learned that Beiki, Baiyo and Uchiha Raizumi would be away from home for many days to carry out missions, Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto were reluctant, but they also knew that this was a duty of a ninja. They didn't say much, but just gave instructions for 5 hours and invited Uchiha Fugaku's family to dinner at home in the evening. Uchiha Fugaku came early with Uchiha Misaya, but Uchiha Itachi hadn't arrived yet. Fugaku, Misaya, where's Itachi? Uchiha Misaya was cooking, and Tsunade was setting the tableau. Seeing Beiki and Baiyo leading the 2 in, she asked without seeing Uchiha Itachi. Itachi went to pick up Sasuke. He will come directly later. Uchiha Fugaku said with a smile. Ah, that's right. Jinga and Haoa haven't gone to pick them up yet. Tsunade had been telling Beiki and the others in the afternoon, and then she asked Beiki and Baiyo to go find Uchiha Fugaku, completely forgetting about Baiing and Baiyo. Tsunade clapped her hands and shouted, "If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271 Uchiha Sasuke. Don't worry, Tsunade. When Itachi went, I told him that if he didn't see Bai Yu and Bai Yu being picked up by you, he would have brought them back together. They have a very good relationship. Don't worry. Uchiha Missy held Tsunade's hand and said with a smile, "Ah, that's great. But Itachi is really great, and he is really good at playing the role of brother." Tsunade said with a smile, and then recalled the way Itachi treated Sasuke, Bai Yu and Bai Yu, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Not only is he patient, but he is also very gentle, so that Bai Yu and Bai Yu couldn't help but run to ask themselves if Itachi is their own big brother. In fact, Baiki is also very good, and he is patient enough, but as for gentleness, cough cough, Baiki fully inherited Bai Yu's genes. He is usually very kind and gentle. Once he is training or encountering serious matters, he becomes extremely serious. Occasionally, Baiki and Itachi will take Sasuke, Bai Yu, and Bai Yu to practice respectively. Itachi's purpose is to lead by example, teach by example, and demonstrate and preach gently. But Baiki is different. With a spear in his hand, he is extremely ruthless. If you do something wrong, he will just hit you on the butt with the spear. Then he will use all kinds of tricks to stimulate the nerves of the three children. According to Baiki, your brother was trained by Dad in the past. Dad once said that more training in peacetime means less bleeding in war, and if you practice hard enough, it will be easy to fight the enemy. I'm doing this for your own good. So, if you want to become a strong ninja, you have to endure more hardships. When it comes to their father, Bai Yu and Bai Yu will become silent because they have not seen their father for many years, except when they were young. They only know that their father is in seclusion. Even their memories are vague. They only know that Bai Yu is very charming and beautiful. By the way, they still remember that they have a mother, but in the Mist Village. As for why she is in the Mist Village, they don't know. No, Itachi, he looks a little cold, but he is kind in his heart. I'm really afraid that he will be soft-hearted when he encounters the enemy during the mission. Kia, help Itachi more in the future. Uchiha Mise first said to Tsunade, and then said gently to Baiki, "Ah, Itachi is much calmer than me, I'm more impulsive. Let's help each other. Well, I'll go upstairs and call my aunt down." Baiki felt a little embarrassed when he heard it and hurriedly said a few words, then ran upstairs. Seeing Baiki's appearance, everyone smiled, and Uchiha Raizumi also smiled. Baiki is really cute. At the entrance of the ninja school, Uchiha Itachi stood at the door expressionlessly. His stern face made countless girls passing by feel amorous, but Uchiha Itachi's cold breath made people dare not approach him. That kind of cold temperament seemed to be a protective shield, protecting Uchiha Itachi inside. However, when Sasuke looked down on him, put his hands in his pockets coldly, and walked over with his school bag on his back, Uchiha Itachi's face, which had never changed for thousands of years, showed a smile. Brother. When Uchiha Sasuke saw Uchiha Itachi, he immediately returned to the appearance of a younger brother. That kind of cold and arrogant look suddenly disappeared, and he turned into a little fanboy. "Sasuke, how was school today?" Uchiha Itachi asked Uchiha Sasuke with a smile and gentleness. "It's still the same. In the whole school, except for Bai Yu and that hateful guy Bai Yu, I don't want to pay attention to others. Although Bai Yu is a bit hateful, he is still okay," Uchiha Sasuke said proudly. "Haha, you." Uchiha Itachi smiled dotingly and poked Uchiha Sasuke's white forehead. Being poked by Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Sasuke blushed a little. "You can't do this. You have to make new friends, you know," Uchiha Itachi said gently. "You're still talking about me, brother, you're the same," Uchiha Sasuke said dissatisfiedly, like a spoiled child. "However, I found an idiot. Although this idiot always plays pranks and is always looked down upon by everyone, this guy still does his own thing, as if he is very happy every day. I heard that he is the child of the former Ninetales Jinchuriki, Lady Kushina. This guy is quite strong, but he is just an idiot. Today, this idiot said he wanted to challenge me. Although he is quite strong, he was defeated by me. But he is not convinced, this idiot. Then Uchiha Sasuke talked to Uchiha Itachi about what happened at school today, just like a child. After hearing what Uchiha Sasuke said, Uchiha Itachi sighed in his heart. Is it Uzumaki Naruto? Uchiha Itachi asked. Ah. Yes. Brother, do you know him? Uchiha Sasuke said, after thinking for a while. I know you. Back then. Forget it. Let's not talk about it. I'm going to visit Bai's house today. Don't you like the wooden fish rice balls Joa makes for you the most? I guess Joa should prepare a big plate of wooden fish rice balls for you. Uchiha Itachi changed the subject and said with a smile. Gurgle. Ah, Sister Bai's is really good. I'll taste it later. Upon hearing that Bai was going to make wooden fish rice balls, Uchiha Sasuke quietly swallowed his saliva. He was so cold and arrogant that he would not let anyone know that he liked to eat this. Although Uchiha Sasuke deliberately concealed it, how could he escape Uchiha Itachi's eyes? But he just smiled and didn't expose it. However, a name popped up in Uchiha Sasuke's mind. Baiki. Brother Baiki. When Uchiha Sasuke thought of this name, he subconsciously tightened his gluteal muscles. You have to know that the cold and arrogant Uchiha Sasuke, the first time he practiced with Baiki, naturally had some unpleasant things, so that Uchiha Sasuke knew for the first time that just spanking could be so painful. Well, but we have to wait a while. Aunt Tsunade is busy at home. We have to take Jinga and Haoa back to Bai's house. Uchiha Itachi said gently. These two guys are really troublesome, but we should wait a while. Bai Yu, that abominable guy, colluded with that idiot today and drew some funny patterns on the portrait of the third generation. He is being punished by teacher Iruka and wiped the portrait clean. Bai has to wait for Bai Yu. Uchiha Sasuke heard that he had to wait a while before he could eat the wooden fish rice balls made by Bai Yu. He was so annoyed, but there was nothing he could do. Oh. It seems that Haoa is very lively. The four brothers and sisters really have different personalities. Uchiha Itachi thought of this and smiled helplessly. Baiki is usually gentle, calm, and simple, but he gets extremely excited when he fights. Bai Yu is very lively and loving. Sometimes he can be very dark and play some pranks, but they are all harmless things. Bai, very quiet, very elegant, always with a smile, speaks and acts with a noble temperament. Bai Yu, a little devil, has a lot of tricks, but his mind is very flexible, especially in cultivation. He can often draw inferences from one example, but he is very naughty and often beaten by Tsunade, but he is still the same. Uchiha Itachi had a smile on his face and poked Uchiha Sasuke, who looked dissatisfied. The two brothers were quietly waiting for Bai and Bai Yu. Chapter 272, The Strong Light of Good Friends. Soon, a quiet and beautiful girl came out with an elegant pace, followed by two children who were arm in arm with each other. The two children's faces were full of smiles of success. The two children were Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto. Heyo, did you see that today? When Iruka-sensei saw the Hokage's head portrait, his face turned green. Ha ha ha. Uzumaki Naruto said to Bai Yu with a naughty smile. Ha ha ha. If you ask me, today's work is not artistic enough. You should keep a part intact, and then paint the rest of it, so that it will have a visual impact. But, breaking the head portrait will have a sense of incomplete beauty. Bai Yu smiled first, and then said seriously. Yes. Yu really didn't realize that you have such a strong artistic cell. However, for the next art performance, I have already thought of what to do. Uzumaki Naruto said proudly. You've already thought about it? Damn it, you beat me to it. I must think of it faster than you do. Bai Yu said with a look of resentment. No. Uzumaki Naruto said with a smug look. He looked so arrogant. Tell me, what are you going to do next time? Bai Yu said excitedly. That's it. Uzumaki Naruto pointed to the location of the Hokage rock in the distance with high spirits. When he saw the fourth face, a strange look flashed in Uzumaki Naruto's eyes, but it soon calmed down. Hey, how dare you do that to your father? Bai Yu asked with a puzzled look. TSK, what's the matter? If my father can beat me up, I'll accept it. Although Uzumaki Naruto looked nonchalant, he was still a little unhappy in his heart. Yeah, if my father can beat me up, I'll accept it. Bai Yu also said the same thing. Hearing this, Uzumaki, Naruto and Bai looked at each other, their eyes bursting with recognition, and the light of friendship burst out. Bang bang. Bai, who was walking in front, couldn't help it, and turned back to hit them both on the forehead. Because of you two, it has been delayed for a long time. If Haoa doesn't want Tsunade's mother to beat you, just hurry up. I can use the excuse that you are on duty today. And you Naruto, if you don't want Aunt Kushina to know about this, then get out of the school immediately. Bai's queen style is unmistakable. Hearing Tsunade and Kushina, Bai and Uzumaki Naruto trembled all over. They hurriedly followed Bai out. The two fearless little men were subdued by the two more manly women. Although the two people sped up, they couldn't help swallowing their saliva when they saw the empty school gate, shaking like a sieve while walking. However, when the three of them walked out of the school gate, they did not see Tsunade and Kushina, but only saw the brothers Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke. Bai and Uzumaki Naruto were relieved. That naughty character was instantly exposed. Ahaha. Mom hasn't arrived yet. Bai began to dance happily. My mom hasn't arrived either. Haha. It's a blessing. Uzumaki Naruto breathed a sigh of relief and laughed happily. Bai rolled her eyes at the two of them helplessly, walked up to Uchiha Itachi and said elegantly, Brother Itachi, Jinga, Aunt Tsunade should be preparing dinner at home, and I will take you and Haoa home today. At this time, my father and mother should have arrived at the Bai mansion. Uchiha Itachi said with a smile. Sorry to bother Brother Itachi. Bai heard that it turned out to be a banquet for Uchiha Itachi's family, so she said with a smile, Hey. The damn guy, hurry up and leave. Uchiha Sasuke saw Bai and Uzumaki Naruto talking nonsense on the other side, and suddenly felt anxious. These two guys actually delayed me from eating wooden fish rice balls. Damn it. He couldn't help but shout in a cold voice. It turned out to be the ice face. Wow, it turned out to be an ice-faced brother. It's really rare. Uzumaki Naruto on the side saw Uchiha Sasuke and the man next to Uchiha Sasuke and couldn't help shouting. Uchiha Itachi heard Uzumaki Naruto say that his brother was an ice face and then saw Uchiha Sasuke's angry look and couldn't help laughing. Heyo, look, the difference is too big. Just now I wanted to say that the two brothers are both ice faces, but you see, Itachi brother is so handsome when he smiles. Uzumaki Naruto said. That's it. My second sister should have fallen like this. Ha. I suddenly thought of a new plan. Bai said this, and suddenly his eyes lit up and shouted excitedly. What plan? Uzumaki Naruto also asked excitedly. I've always been curious. You said, Itachi is so handsome when he smiles. What will Sasuke, the ice cube, look like when he smiles? Bai suddenly thought that it seemed that, since he met Uchiha Sasuke, this guy has never smiled. Although I don't like the ice cube, but after hearing you say that, I feel it's quite interesting. You listen to me for the Hokage rock plan, and I'll listen to you for the ice smile plan. How about it? Uzumaki Naruto said to Bai with a smile. Deal. The two people burst into the light of friendship again. Hey, you hateful guys, and you idiot. You actually treat me as a plan. How hateful. Uchiha Sasuke saw that the two people ignored him and just studied the plan that made him uncomfortable and immediately scolded him coldly. Oh, don't mind it, Ice Cube. It's just a plan. After all, we have known each other for so long, right? Bai approached Uchiha Sasuke at this time, hooked his neck, and said with a smile. That's right. You said Hayo was hateful, and that I was an idiot, but we didn't care, right, Ice Cube? Uzumaki Naruto hooked the other side, and said with a smile. Damn it. Two idiots. Go home quickly. Uchiha Sasuke said helplessly and coldly. Brother Itachi, are you taking me and my third sister home today? Bai asked with a smile. Yes. Today our family will have dinner at your house. Uchiha Itachi said with a smile. Is that so? Naruto, when will Aunt Kushina come? Bai looked at Uzumaki Naruto and asked. I don't know. My mother has to take care of my father and often forgets me. Uzumaki Naruto said embarrassedly. Brother Itachi, please tell Aunt Kushina that Naruto is having dinner at my house. Bai said to Uchiha Itachi with a smile. Okay, no problem. Uchiha Itachi smiled slightly, and a group of crows floated out of his body. Let's go. Naruto, come home with me for dinner. I'll treat you to dinner today. Beiheo said proudly, hooking Uzumaki Naruto's shoulders. Because just now, Beiheo noticed that Uzumaki Naruto was in a low mood. Chapter 273 Surprise Exam. Heyo. Naruto Uzumaki's eyes flashed with emotion. No need to say too much. We are all brothers. Beiheo said proudly. He walked forward with high spirits. Uchiha Itachi, who was standing by, saw Beiheo's small back and actually saw some of Bai Yu's shadow in the past. He was a little emotional for a moment. Aunt Kushina. Uchiha Itachi used a clone transformed by a crow to come to the hospital. He flew directly into the ward of Minato Namikaze. Itachi, how come you have time to come here? Kushina was wiping Minato Namikaze's face. Seeing Uchiha Itachi, she asked with a smile. I just came from the ninja school. Uchiha Itachi said with a smile. Ah. Yes. I forgot to pick up Naruto. Kushina suddenly remembered that she forgot to pick up Naruto Uzumaki. She quickly put down the towel in her hand and was about to go out. Aunt Kushina. Naruto was taken home by Beiheo for dinner. I came here to tell you so that you don't worry. Uchiha Itachi said with a smile. Ah. That's really too much trouble for Sister Tsunade, and also for you Itachi. Kushina breathed a sigh of relief and said with a wry smile. It's okay, I'll send Naruto here after dinner. Uchiha Itachi said with a smile. Thank you Itachi. Kushina said with a smile. No trouble, I'll leave first, if there's nothing else. After Uchiha Itachi finished speaking, Kushina responded. Uchiha Itachi turned into a crow again and flew out of the hospital. Kushina saw Uchiha Itachi disappear, and her eyes turned red. Namikaze Minato was sleeping soundly, and she spent most of her time taking care of Namikaze Minato, and had little time to educate Uzumaki Naruto. Fortunately, everyone took good care of Uzumaki Naruto. At the same time, Kushina silently asked Bai Yu in her heart, when will you come back? Father, mother. I took them back. Uchiha Itachi brought 4 little guys to Beifu, and said with a smile. Naruto is here too. Come and sit here. Unlike Tsunade, Uchiha Mikoto and Uchiha Missy are definitely women with overflowing love. They all knew about Uzumaki Naruto. They usually helped Uzumaki Naruto more or less. Especially Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto. Knowing that Beiheo and Uzumaki Naruto had a good relationship, they often told Beiheo to be nicer to Uzumaki Naruto. Uchiha Mikoto smiled and waved at Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto walked over shyly and said hello to the elders. Although Namikaze Minato had been unconscious, occasionally, Kushina would teach Uzumaki Naruto some etiquette and some common sense of life. She would also buy some new clothes for Uzumaki Naruto. So Uzumaki Naruto would not be like a wild child without anyone to discipline him. The banquet ended very happily. After Uchiha Itachi sent Uzumaki Naruto to Konoha Hospital, he said goodbye to Kushina. Seeing Uzumaki Naruto sleeping on the sofa with a round belly, he smiled slightly and then had a simple meal. He lay on a bed next to Namikaze Minato to rest. The next day, Beiki, Beiheo, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Raizumi left their homes, gathered at the Anbu, put on the Anbu uniforms, and started to carry out the mission. Beiying, Beiheo, and Uchiha Sasuke were still sent to school by Tsunade and Mei as usual. Uchiha Sasuke still had that cold ice face, and Beiying still looked like a queen with temperament. Beiheo and Uzumaki Naruto were still arm in arm, and colluding with each other. But what made Beiheo and Uzumaki Naruto most angry was that Uchiha Sasuke had that dead face and never smiled, but so many girls liked him. But Beiheo and Uzumaki Naruto were different. Beiheo was surprised to find that Uzumaki Naruto was full of the taste of love. Look, before class started, Uzumaki Naruto blushed and stared at the group of girls who were chattering around Uchiha Sasuke. Among them, there was a girl with pink hair, who looked like a fangirl. Beiheo took a sneak peek, and she knew this girl. She had a high forehead and her name was Iruno Sakura. However, Beiheo also felt a burning gaze staring at Uzumaki Naruto. When Beiheo looked over, the girl lowered her head with a red face. What a keen perception. Beiheo's eyes flashed. He also knew this girl, the jewel in the eye of the Hyuga clan, the sister of the Hyuga clan genius, Hyuga Hinata. The genius of the Hyuga clan, of course, goes without saying. Hyuga Niji. When Beiheo looked at this pair of Hyuga siblings, Beiheo's eyes widened. What's going on? Hyuga Niji is actually staring at his third sister Beiying. And Hyuga Niji's perception is even better than Hyuga Hinata. Beiheo's eyes just saw Hyuga Niji, and in the blink of an eye, Hyuga Niji returned to normal. Do what you need to do. God is unfair. God is unfair. Why? Everyone has their favorite object. The key is that those who are favored are fearless. Beiheo looked at the ambiguous atmosphere around him, plus Uchiha Sasuke, his third sister, and that idiot Uzumaki Naruto. He exclaimed in his heart, how come I'm not good looking, young and rich, top-notch strength, humorous, and quick-witted? Beiheo actually inherited the good genes of Bai Yu and Tsunade. However, he always showed a hint of naughty smile, which made the girls think that Beiheo was a scumbag. As a result, the girls who originally had some affection for Beiheo shifted their focus. If Beiheo knew, he would definitely shout, why I'm a scumbag. Let me be a scumbag for a while. Class is starting. As the bell rang, everyone sat down. Iruka walked in slowly. He looked at the classmates in the class and they were all there. He nodded with satisfaction. Then he said seriously, today is the exam. Students who fail the makeup exam will have to take a makeup exam. Students who fail the makeup exam will have their parents called in. Ah. Oh my god. There is an impromptu exam today. It's over. It's over. As Iruka finished speaking, the classmates in the class began to make a commotion. At this moment, some classmates in the class began to make their own little moves. Help Choza. Narashikamaru whispered to the girl with hotter clothes and long light yellow hair. No problem. Yamana Karino quietly made an okay gesture to Narashikaku and Akimichi Choza. Third sister. Third sister. Help me. Help me. Beiheo had to look at Beiying beside him with a pleading face. Beiying felt funny when she saw Beiheo's look, but still gave Beiheo a gentle smile. When Beiheo saw this smile, he immediately knew what was going on. Third sister is worth 2. With the help of third sister, there will be absolutely no problem. But at this time, Beiheo felt a resentful look. It turns out that Uzumaki Naruto has been staring at Beiheo with fiery eyes since just now, but Beiheo has been begging his third sister and didn't notice, so that Uzumaki Naruto's eyes are a little resentful. Beiheo's eyes turned, and he made an okay gesture to Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto saw this gesture and smiled instantly. But at this moment, Iruka on the podium said, if I find out that anyone uses some tricks to cope with the exam, go directly to the parents. I'll go get the test paper. After Iruka finished speaking, he walked out of the classroom to get the test paper. At the same time, he let out a smile, leaving the classmates in the class confused. Chapter 274, Changes in the Spirit World. Just when the students of the ninja school were worried about the exams, the entire Land of Fire launched an unprecedented spy eradication operation. Beiki, Beiheo, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Raizumi have been in the Enbu for some time. With their strong strength and workload, they have successfully stood out in the Anbu. Seeing the 4 people's achievements, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but sigh at his own vision. He simply waved his hand and made these 4 people a team. Uchiha Itachi was the captain. Beiki was the deputy captain. Similarly, this team was affectionately called the double CP combination by the ninjas of the Anbu. Although everyone can see that the relationship between these 4 people is not ordinary, and they are even called this name. But the 4 people have not yet broken the thin layer of relationship paper that cannot be thinner. It doesn't matter whether to break it or not, it's just a formality. The 4 people are responsible for several villages in a large area in the south. With Beiheo's powerful perception, any hostile spies will have nowhere to hide and cannot escape Beiheo's eyes. Among the 4 people, Beiki has the strongest combat power. Uchiha Itachi has the strongest illusion. Although Beiheo's yin power has not been fully developed, his combat power is not weak either. With the Bai family swordsmanship, he can deal with the enemy completely. Uchiha Raizumi is a good long-range support player. With a calm overall view, he can often see the overall situation and uses many strange ninjutsu to support his companions. However, the four people have only entered the cruel stage of the ninja world not long ago, and their popularity is not that high. This action also made the four people fully realize how dangerous the ninja world is. Because before reaching the first village, several teams and more than a dozen spy ninjas were wiped out. This is still the peaceful era now. If it was before, Baki and Bai Yu couldn't help but think that their father could make a great name in such a cruel war era. I have more respect for Bai Yu in my heart. At the same time, a particularly small village. The guard should be the Sound Village. Ahem, it seems that Konoha is going to make a big move this time. A man with pale skin and a cold smile at the corner of his mouth. The pair of snake pupils is shocking. Orochimaru sat in a cold laboratory, looking at the intelligence scroll in his hand. The successful development of the corpse reincarnation technique gave Orochimaru the hope of eternal life, but also made his physical fitness a little low. Kimimaro, continue to pay attention to Konoha's movements. If necessary, let them all hide. Now is not the time to be discovered by Konoha. Orochimaru said coldly. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. Kimimaro responded expressionlessly, and then walked out slowly. Kabuto, is your body ready? Orochimaru said slowly towards the dark place on the other side. Ready, but it's a woman's body. The voice was faintly helpless. It doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. Let's start when you're ready. Orochimaru said expressionlessly. Yes. Orochimaru walked in that direction. In another mountain, in a place that has nothing to do with any country, a group of people wearing black-red cloud cloaks gathered here. Among them was Uchiha wearing a mask. The leader was a man with orange hair and a rinnegan. Next to him stood a woman with light blue-purple hair, light orange eyes, a lavender paper flower on the right side of her head, purple eyeshadow, and a lip stud on the bottom of her lips. The purpose of their meeting this time was to absorb powerful rebel ninjas. And Orochimaru was on the list to be absorbed, and there were many other names. Of course, the main purpose was to absorb rebel ninjas, but there were also some ninjas from various villages who were strong and could easily develop into rebel ninjas, and they were also on the list. Just when the various parties in the ninja world began to have a turbulent color again, a change occurred in the spirit world. The spirit world is the world of spirits, words, and gods. The originally illusory space burst into a golden light. Then there was a black light, and then a white light. Zoom in. The source of these three lights is around Bai Yu. There are 3 dragons circling. 1 gold, 1 white, and 1 black. The 3 dragons circled for a while, then flew far away, and then suddenly turned back. They rushed straight into Bai Yu's body. Bai Yu frowned first. Then he opened his mouth, and couldn't help but let out a dragon roar that resounded through the world. A mighty force directly pressed the hearts of the gods in the spirit world. At this moment, Dragon World, a black dragon suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were full of disbelief, full of caution, full of all kinds of expressions. But in the end, it turned into a pair of eyes full of cold murderous intent. Impossible. Could it be him? The dragon roared coldly, then stretched out its dragon claws, and cut a space crack. Disappeared in the crack. Slowly, the crack also disappeared. At this moment, a warning appeared in Bai Yu's heart. There was no time to stabilize his realm. Bai Yu grabbed the dragon sword, disappeared in the spirit world. Roar. A dragon roar resounded throughout the spirit world. Black Dragon Wushan appeared in the spirit world. Black Dragon Wushan felt that the place where the dragon clan condensed the dragon body was here. The powerful Black Dragon Wushan used his dragon clan's pressure to oppress the spirits of the spirit world and directly forced the gods of the spirit world to appear. Each world has its own rules. Although Black Dragon Wushan can destroy these gods, he feels troubled by the rules of the world. After a few simple questions and no answers, Black Dragon Wushan snorted coldly and disappeared. At the same time, Bai Yu appeared in the spirit world. Oh my. This time difference is really smart. Hey. Why are you looking at me like this? Just when Bai Yu appeared in the spirit world and talked to himself, he found that at some point, the gods of the spirit world were all glaring at Bai Yu. Bai Yu asked awkwardly. Of course, the gods expressed their dissatisfaction one by one. Although Bai Yu was overwhelmed by the gibberish of the spirit language, he still figured it out. It was nothing more than Black Dragon Wushan threatening them, etc. But he did not reveal his whereabouts. Nonsense. Even if you leak it, you still have to know where I am. But after all, they helped us, so we can't be disloyal. Everyone. Listen to me. I'm grateful for your kindness today. If you need me, Bai Yu, in the future, just tell me. I will do my best to help you. Bai Yu clasped his fists and said to the surroundings with righteousness. When the gods heard it, they all sent their own blessings. Although it was a blessing, with this medium, the gods could sense Bai Yu through the medium. Of course, this required Bai Yu's consent before they could sense it. Chapter 275 Unspeakable. Of course, this also has its benefits, such as affinity for natural energy. It can also be used as a medium to allow these gods with magical powers to separate an incarnation to help Bai Yu. Bai Yu frowned and accepted it straightforwardly. Do good to others and do good to yourself. The god smiled and disappeared, especially the ferocious face of the god of death, who actually smiled. It really can stop a child from crying. Without the threat of the black dragon Wushan, Bai Yu sat in the spirit world again and began to consolidate his cultivation. What Bai Yu has to do now is to transform the inner elixir in his body into a mana inner elixir. The Teikai magic ring is based on the Eye Spirit platform, which cannot be changed. But the dragon physique is not comparable to humans. The inner elixir mixed with chakra has always lowered the level of dragon mana. The power of the dragon is the power of ki and blood. The origin of ki and blood is the heart. The heart of the dragon is both the weakness and the place with the strongest defense. At the heart of the dragon, there will be a reverse scale to protect this weakness. Of course, when Bai Yu's dragon body was revealed, a vivid dragon head tattoo appeared on the left chest. It wrapped around the heart. On the surface, it looked like a tattoo, but once you looked inside, you would find a golden dragon hovering over the heart. That was the effect that would only appear when the power of ki and blood reached its extreme. Speaking of which, refining the inner elixir, removing the chakra, and upgrading it to a pure dragon mana inner elixir. This difficulty is no less than breaking and then establishing, and then recondensing the inner elixir. But Bai Yu has always been fierce to himself. Without saying a word, he directly pulled his entire inner elixir into the Dharma Eye space. The next second, vomiting blood. Puff. Bai Yu's face turned pale in an instant, and a mouthful of old blood spurted out of his mouth. The inner elixir, the root of the whole body's cultivation, was refined just like that. It would be strange if he didn't vomit blood so rudely. But when Bai Yu penetrated his mental power into the Dharma Eye space, he was stunned. Is this still his own Dharma Eye space? Originally, Bai Yu's Dharma Eye space was only black and white, extremely clear. But now there is a colorful sun in the sky. Although it is colorful, the light it emits is white. The sky also has various colors. Mountains, rivers, dense forests and grasslands, except for the lack of small animals. This is also a beautiful scenic spot. Bai Yu realized that the colorful sun was the blessing given to him by the gods and spirits. After admiring it for a while, Bai Yu refined the energy inner elixir. With Bai Yu's refining, the Dharma Eye space changed again. The mountains are more majestic, and the rivers are more turbulent. The refined mana gathered in Bai Yu's danshan replaced the original inner elixir. Not long after, a rice-sized inner elixir emerged. However, compared with the previous baby fist-sized inner elixir, it is a world of difference. But the quality of the newly condensed mana inner elixir is higher. With the dragon body as a pillar, Bai Yu's refining speed is faster than before. After just a few days, Bai Yu finished refining. Bai Yu opened his eyes, and a purple gold light flashed in his eyes. Then, Bai Yu slowly stood up, and the purple gold mana circled around his body. The impurities discharged from his body due to the condensation of the dragon body were shaken into pieces. Then he changed into new clothes again in embarrassment. There was no way. The impurities had long been mixed with the clothes, and he accidentally shook the clothes into pieces. Now I should be considered a super shadow level. I don't know if my real combat power can beat that old man. Bai Yu thought about it secretly in his heart. Then Bai Yu smiled, straddled the dragon sword on his waist, and waved his hand. A passage appeared in front of Bai Yu. Bai Yu walked in with a turtle step. It was late at night in the Naruto world at this time. Terumi Mei was lying alone on the bed, lying on her side with her cheeks, thinking about the movements of Konoha and the current situation in the ninja world. What's more, there is a person who has haunted her for so many years. I don't know when Bai Yu can come out. At this moment, Terumi Medi suddenly felt someone hugging her from behind. Terumi Medi frowned, and her vigilance increased immediately. She wanted to break free and fight back, but the arms were like shackles, making it impossible for her to break free. This made Medi Terumi feel depressed. She didn't expect that there were still such powerful people in the ninja world today. Although she was still at the level of Cage, she was no longer the Cage level she was back then. She couldn't break free. HMPH, a huge force made Medi Terumi turn around involuntarily. When Medi Terumi saw that face clearly, she couldn't believe it. Surprise. All kinds of emotions turned into 2 lines of tears, slowly flowing down. It was another indescribable night. The next day, Bai Yu discovered something very comfortable. That is, he now has the ability to practice with his wife. Not only can they have fun, but they can also improve their strength together. This is really a wonderful thing. Under Medi Terumi's tenderness, Bai Yu put on his clothes. With a dragon sword on his waist, he was full of vigor and vitality. His look of contempt for the world made Medi Terumi intoxicated. Medi, how is the ninja world now? Early in the morning, Bai Yu asked softly, while eating the breakfast prepared by Medi Terumi. Medi Terumi also told Bai Yu in detail about the changes in the ninja world over the years. What? Minato actually? Oh my god. What a joke. This guy has become a vegetable? Bai Yu was very shocked when he heard about the changes in Konoha. On the one hand, he was pleased with the growth of Baiki and Baiyao, and on the other hand, he couldn't believe that there were really idiots in this world who became vegetables. Meiming, I have to go back to the village first. After I deal with Minato's affairs, I will come to the Mist Village and take you back to Konoha. Bai Yu frowned and said, I'm not in a hurry, and I don't know when I can find someone who can be competent for the position of Mizukage. Medi Terumi said helplessly. She also wanted to stay with Bai Yu forever, but the responsibility of the Mizukage forced her to put this idea aside temporarily. Is that so? It's not easy to cultivate a talent. But, talent, just cultivate it. Whoever dares to touch the Mist Village, I will destroy his entire village. I don't believe that with such a strong guarantee, I can't cultivate a talent. Bai Yu said domineeringly. You, go back quickly. Minato's matter is more important. It's been so many years, don't let anything happen again. Medi Terumi said considerately. Oh, you think so much about me? Then I must bring you back to Konoha as soon as possible. Wait for me, I'll go back first. Bai Yu teased Medi Terumi, then intimately with her, and flew away. Medi Terumi saw Bai Yu's back and smiled slightly. After so many years of waiting, she finally got what she wanted. With a happy smile, Medi Terumi walked towards the office with an elegant step. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.